Ehrenberg from Odd Chopper here to break down Thursday's NBA slate. As you come in, do me a big favor by liking the video and subscribing to the YouTube channel. And also, your comments are always appreciated below. Any questions that you guys have for me, I'm happy to answer them. Or if you just have thoughts about the slate, whether you like my bets, dislike my bets, or if there's other bets that you have on your mind, let me know all that below in the comment section. I really do like to hear what your guys' thoughts are on every single slate. And as for our results yesterday, pretty neutral. I had two bets. We ended up going one-on-one on them. One of them was Rudy Gobert over 10.5 rebounds. That one ended up winning fairly easily. We saw a dozen rebounds from Gobert last night, and the bet won with a lot of time left in that game. And then the other one ended up losing. It was Steph Curry over 5.5 rebounds. And one that kind of felt doomed from the start. Steph Curry, super early in the game, got into foul trouble. I think we were 4 minutes in. He picked up a second personal foul. And then late in the game, he ended up getting ejected. So that one never really had a chance to win. So ended up going 1-1 for a fairly neutral day yesterday. And also, guys, don't forget that if you want more information, not just for myself, but all the other guys on the YouTube channel, we've got our premium betting Discord channel. You guys could sign up using the link that we have below. But let's work through the NBA slate for Thursday. I've got a few bets I like, and let's break them down right now. So the first bet that I'm giving out today, it is under 6.5 rebounds for RJ Barrett. And this comes right from our data and tools that we have over at BetPro, which is our newest prop betting tool over at Stokastic.com. If you guys would like a 1-week free trial, click on the link below that we have for NBA BetPro, and you get access to all of our player projections and all of the books that offer the best lines. 1 week for that for free. And this is a really useful tool. It helps me pick out my bets that I'm going to be placing each day. And I don't really understand why RJ Barrett has such a high rebound prop for today, because 6.5 is a massive number for a guy in RJ Barrett to get to, who's not averaging anywhere close to that overall for the season. Just pulling up his numbers, which, by the way, for today, we've got him projected right around 4.5 rebounds. And, you know, it's just hard to imagine a scenario where RJ Barrett is reliably going to hit 7 boards for the year. He averages 5.4. And then you look at the rest of the year for him and how he's kind of not been trending upwards either. Over the last 2 weeks, Barrett's averaging 5 rebounds per game. Over the last month, RJ Barrett is averaging 4.8 rebounds per game. So his rebounds are not even trending up. They're kind of trending downward over the course of the season.
Where'd you find the porno music, Mike? Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com and NBA Deeper Dive presented by, right? We got a new one today. Sorare. Yeah, talk about that a little bit later in the show. But first, what's up, everybody? Happy to have you with us. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS, breaking down a 6-game Thursday slate today. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
I'm good now, man. That music got me in the mood to talk basketball.
That's what it got you in the mood for?
Yeah, that's it.
It's an interesting slate for sure, because I'm just, looking at the boom bust tool, diving right into this for a second. We'll get back to you guys in one moment, but looking at it, you have a lot of this value that's just real cheap, like the Collins, the Garrison Matthews. We'll talk about injuries as we get throughout this game, but just all of them have massively low negative leverage scores in our boom bust tool today.
Yeah, it was a really interesting. It looked really interesting going through it with Josh this morning because there's just a lot of cheap value where you look at them and it's like, all right, that guy's clearly too cheap, but also like, holy shit, he's pulling so much ownership. And that's because it is only a 6-gamer. You do have Luka on the slate. You do have some other, good options to pay for as well. So it kind of makes sense. But you also have some big Q tags, that we're waiting on, particularly or specifically one of those guys, Kevin Love, that's kind of weirdly pulling a lot of ownership now is also questionable. So things definitely could be changing through this show and through Live Before Lock.
Yeah, and didn't go through shoot around either.
Right.
So
yeah, and back injury, old dude, didn't go through shoot around. Seems kind of unlikely he plays.
How old do you think he is?
Probably not as old as I think.
That's why I'm asking, because
my guess, my first answer is 34. I think the answer is 30.
All right. No, there's no way he's 30, dude. There's no way.
Oh, no. I think he's younger than me. So I think he's 31 or 32.
Go with your first guess.
34?
Go with your first guess.
He's 34?
He's 34, yeah.
Okay, so he's older than me.
Well, I'm just thinking about it. He's been in the league for a pretty long time.
Yeah, but time just runs together. There's guys that have been in the league for 7 years that I think have been in the league for 13.
That is true. There's also guys that have been in the league for 13 that I feel like have been in the league since 7.
Right,
7.
Exactly.
2008.
So, yeah, he was drafted the year I graduated high school.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah, it's just very odd to think this guy's getting old, but he's still younger than I am.
Right, right.
He's still younger than me. And I always find it funny to see players with the last name and then senior attached to it.
Oh, yeah, and younger.
Yeah, like Marcus Morris Senior.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're younger than it's a crazy world we live in. But yeah, Kevin Love didn't. What's that?
It gets me the most during baseball season because that's the sport that I know the most about, players in general and prospects and stuff. And the number of times that it'll be oh, yeah, I don't think this pitcher is actually going to amount to anything. He's already 26 years old, just now getting into the major leagues. And it's just
nothing.
Yeah, it's oh, cool. I was 7 when this guy was born, that I'm calling old.
Also, some of these guys in the ML don't develop till they're 30.
Yeah, that too.
It's a super weird sport for how long they stay down there. But happy to have you guys with us. We got 6 games to break down. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel. How many subs are we at? What are we at? We gotta be getting close. Mike, what are we at? How many subs do we have here?
86,000.
86,000. All right. One of these days we'll be breaking that 100K thanks to you guys. But take a single second, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Atone for your sins. Wash yourself clean of that stench, and you'll feel great about life and everything else. It only takes a single second. All right. So 6 games to get to. We'll turn it over to Live Before Lock. Once this one ends, they'll take you up till 7:30 p.m. lock. First question now, Adam, is there right now with the news that we have, and I know there's still some questionables. We'll navigate through all that as we go game by game here. You see them all on the sidebar. Is there any particular incentive to go with a stars and scrubs type approach today, which is almost certainly going to land you on the same value that everyone else is playing?
Yeah, that's the point that I made this morning with Josh, and it just makes it really interesting, and it makes it dependent on exactly what opens up, because it's not that difficult to get to Luka today. You have plenty of sub 4K guys that you can gamble on. You have plenty of guys in the 5 to 6K range, and Luka himself isn't getting that much ownership. We have him at 22%. The problem is that he's the only true pay up option, and so if you are going stars and scrubs, it's for Luka. And it's just you're going to get really similar builds where it's oh, well, I have Luka plus Kevin Love plus, somebody else that is really popular in that price range, Zach Collins, something like that. So that's kind of the concern for me is how easy does that end up being to make contrarian lineups to get to Luka? Because clearly you would love to get to Luka, and it's a 6-game slate. So the gap in projection between him and the next closest guy right now is 10 points between him and Kyrie. So it's going to be great to get there. It's just, are you able to build lineups that are different, but still reasonable? And part of the answer to that is going to be exactly what else opens up with these Q tags.
Yeah. All right. So I'll get to that actually a little bit later. I Chat GPT, right?
Yeah.
I've been messing around with it lately, and I had asked it theoretically, how would I kill a hippo with my bare hands if I were in a swimming pool with one? And it's like, it's impossible. Don't do this. It's highly dangerous and you will die.
It's AI. What is it now?
Yeah, exactly. So I tweaked the settings a little bit. There's a great answer that I got from it earlier. I showed Josh a couple of things I was messing with too. Some really, really funny things, even though it's going to take over and end up killing all of us. But in the meantime, we'll enjoy it. Let's talk about the Knicks and the Boston Celtics out of the gate here. So
what's the hot dog for a penis story?
What? What's that mean?
I don't know. Josh said it.
Oh, no, we're not gonna tell that one. That was hilarious though. Josh appreciated that. I'll tell you after the show. I don't want the same thing to happen where they start lagging our stream and kicking us off YouTube. So we'll save that for another time. But let's talk about basketball. Probably a far more appropriate and suitable for this setting. But the New York Knicks, 8.5-point dogs here, 223 total, low total. They have a 106 implied team total on the slate. I think there's still some spots, though, given that we only have 6 games to get to. No team either right now. Like, I guess, well, there might be one, but most teams are not. There isn't any like heavily unbalanced team that's just getting a ton of ownership like we see a lot of times in these slates. Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes even getting a little bit, but let's start it off with the top guys, the highest priced options, and guys like Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson in a tough matchup against Boston, slow paced game.
Yeah, slow paced, not overly appealing game. One thing for this slate, though, to keep in mind is that, obviously they're still relatively high scoring games. It's the NBA in 2023, but it's not quite the same as yesterday where you have all these games with like massive totals. So relatively, it's not as big of a deal. Still a 108 implied total for the Knicks is the second lowest, just ahead of Houston against Cleveland, I believe. But you have Randall, Brunson, Barrett. All of those guys just sort of look decent here. Not the most appealing spot, like you said, but you should get 36 to 38 minutes from Brunson, probably 37 or 38 from Randall. We still haven't seen him pick up center minutes, really, with Mitchell Robinson out. It's pretty much been a 48-minute split at center between Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein, and then a 48-minute split at the 4 between Julius Randle and Obi Toppin. If he does start playing center minutes, that's going to be good because it'll give him a couple of more minutes and more rebounding opportunities. But even assuming he's not going to get those, at 9,900, still a good point per minute guy, still playing 38 minutes or so. RJ Barrett only pulling 6% ownership at 7K, only played 32 or 33 minutes last game, but on average, you're usually going to get a couple more minutes than that. You have some value here that is potentially interesting at low ownership as well. Quentin Grimes, for one, was getting quite a bit of ownership when Josh and I did the morning show this morning. Now is down to a more manageable 9%. He's not a very good point per minute guy, only about 0.7 DraftKings points per minute this year, but he is likely to give you 34 to 36 minutes. He is only 4,300 with shooting guard and small forward eligibility. So I have some interest there. And then looking at Sims and Hartenstein, it seems like a situation where, and we see this happen a lot, from a medium projection standpoint, neither one's going to look very good because you can't like comfortably say, oh, Jericho Sims is going to play 30 minutes. And you can't comfortably say Isaiah Hartenstein is going to play 22. But if we expect these guys to split 48 minutes, the way I put it on the show with Josh this morning is if you somehow before the slate started knew exactly how many minutes Sim and Hartenstein play today, there's a very, very good chance that one of them would be a good option. It's just a matter of which one. But because from a median standpoint, you can't really go crazy on either of them, it's just driving down their median projection. It makes me interested, especially in large field tournaments. In 5 starts this year without Robinson, Sims has averaged 26 minutes per game. Hartenstein's averaged 18 in the 5 games off the bench. Obviously, that doesn't add up to 48 minutes. So I think it's reasonable to project it that way just because there is volatility and uncertainty. But I also think with these guys, it's important to keep in mind that there is a lot of like upward volatility here as well, because with the rotations we've seen from the Knicks recently, if you go like 26-18, there's basically 4 minutes on the table that are going to go to one of these two guys. We just don't know which one.
So who are your favorite tournament plays from the Knicks then?
Randall and Brunson.
Okay.
I guess right now I would throw Hartenstein in there too, just because he is only 3,300 and we are seeing so much ownership come into some other very questionable, cheap plays. The problem is that he's center only. And even though center isn't quite as deep on this slate as some others, there are still a lot of centers that I like.
All right, let's talk about Boston on the other side of this one. Nobody really pulling a lot of ownership. It is it's always an interesting team because, of course, Marcus Smart is still sidelined for this one. But you have a guy in Jason Tatum was a 33% usage rate this year. Jaylen Brown has a 32% usage rate this season. So you're putting those two on the floor, two monster 30+% usage rates. Neither of them are particularly cheap. Really, Jason Tatum being one of the highest priced players on this slate. But Jaylen Brown has a nice, pretty relatively high leverage score today in our boom bust tool. No ownership whatsoever. Is there anything about these guys, just given the usage and overall ability to rack up some peripherals, specifically with Tatum, that turns you on to them today in tournaments?
I think it's a pretty tough team to get to because they're just getting healthier and price tags came up. So you have Jason Tatum still over 11K with Jaylen Brown back. Clearly, Jason Tatum's got a high ceiling. And if maybe more value opens up and you just get a situation where it's like, oh, well, I can get to Tatum at a fraction of the ownership of Luka. I like the upside that offers. Sure, there's no argument to that. But from any sort of projection standpoint or even prioritization standpoint, I think it's difficult to want to pay 11.2 for him. You have Malcolm Brogdon at 6K in his return. Derek White's up to 5,900, and Brogdon being back should cut into his playing time. There's nothing that really stands out here. I think Robert Williams at 5,600 is somewhat interesting. Probably plays around 28 minutes. Good point per minute guy. There's clearly a path to success there, but there's also plenty of other good centers. So I think it's kind of Tatum, Robert Williams, Jaylen Brown are somewhat interesting in tournaments, maybe mixing in some Brogdon as well. He's actually projected to be the highest owned guy on the team at 7.5%. But it's just one of those spots where you had a team go from being extremely, extremely popular to most of the team coming back at the same time, and that not being the case anymore.
Talking about Chicago and Charlotte, we can move on here. We're going to get to some more interesting spots. Chicago laying 6 on the road, 234 total. Highest owned player right now for the Chicago Bulls, Alex Caruso in this spot. And this is one of the guys I was mentioning, at the top of the show, alluding to at least that, like, you have this value. But Caruso, -8% leverage score. By the way, all of our NBA tools, 5 days entirely free. If you wanted to jump in on that, just use the link in the description or in the chat. I've said it a bunch, but we want you guys to win. That's why we're giving you 5 days. You got games every single day, unlike football, every single day basketball, to take advantage of it. So if you hear us referencing ownership, the projections, the lineup generator, right? The boom bust tool where you have the leverage scores, the boom scores, the optimal lineup score that you're going to hear Adam and myself reference throughout the show. Same thing on Live Before Lock. The lineup builder for those of you hand builders, all this stuff, right? Player projections, projected stats, all the data that we have. It's all available entirely free for 5 days. And if you hate it, we'll refund your misery. Exactly $0. You can bounce, no strings attached, but we'd love to have you stick around. We want to see you guys win with these tools. And in order to do that, we say, instead of 3 free days, let's up it to 5. Let's give you guys as much of an opportunity to win with these as possible. Check them out. Use them in whatever contest you're playing, but they're free for 5 days. The link's in the description, and the link is also in chat. But speaking of Caruso, -8% leverage score. He's not a high usage player. He's not going to grab a ton of boards. Decent assist rate. He's a good defensive player, can rack up some stocks at times. Do you agree with the ownership coming in on him today, given what we know about the slate?
Yes and no. Like, I agree that he's a good value option. I think that of the non-Vooch, DeRozan, Levine pieces on the Bulls, he is the most appealing to get to, probably giving you around 28 minutes. He's about a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy this season. The issue I have is just how much ownership he's getting, because for one, there's no guarantee that, he does actually give you a good point per dollar score. He's likely to, but the other part is that, it's a smaller slate, but it's still 6 games to win, especially large field tournaments. Typically you need all of your guys to give you good games. And when you get somebody like Alex Caruso pulling 25% ownership, it's kind of just like, man, if Alex Caruso goes for 24, like, sure, he's not really hurting your lineup, but I can probably make those points up elsewhere. And it's just so difficult for Alex Caruso to give you that like 30 to 35 fantasy point game that puts you in a position where it's like, oh, you needed Alex Caruso to win today. So I think he's a good play, but I think he's just probably going a bit over-owned, and that's reflected in the boom bust tool, as you were saying. And then even just looking within the same team, I think that there's places you can pivot to. I certainly think Alex Caruso is a better play than Kobe White, but at the same time, $200 difference between the two. for the season, 0.78 DraftKings points per minute for Caruso, 0.79 for Kobe White. You're probably getting about 28 minutes for Caruso. You're probably getting like 22, 23 for Kobe White. That's where the difference in projection comes in. But there's still some volatility there to where you probably shouldn't have Caruso getting 8 times the ownership of Kobe White. Similarly, you have a $3,800 Dosunmu. He's only at 0.7 DraftKings points per minute this year, probably playing mid-20s. So he's going to look, even a little bit worse than those two, but still probably shouldn't be getting 1/5 the ownership of Caruso. It's just a spot where even within this one team, I think you could move some of that ownership around and it would sort of better reflect their chances of success.
What do you think the chances are? I know I'm throwing you a curveball here, but what do you think the chances are that a Dosunmu or a Kobe White, similar price point, same team, outscore Alex Caruso today? Because ownership is nowhere close, as you pointed out.
Right. I mean, if you use the optimal score as a proxy for that, which is as close as we're going to get, because I don't have the time or ability to.
Well, sure, and they're almost the same price, so that's a good proxy for whatever we're trying to do here.
Right. Like, I mean, I think using it as a proxy, you would say like 1 in 3 times White outscores Caruso, and he's getting 1/5 the ownership.
Right. Yeah, it's a pretty good way to. Look at it.
One. Yeah, like a little over one, or a little less than 1/5 the ownership.
Yeah. He's 4% to Caruso's 25. Sorry. All right. So outside of Caruso and the cheap options here, we come into the same predicament as usual. DeRozan, Vooch, LaVine, essentially all the same price. Of course, different positions. And like small forward, not exactly the deepest position. No clear-cut smashes today. Do you think that's why DeRozan's getting more ownership than Vooch and LaVine?
Yeah, most likely just a positional thing because they project pretty similarly. Right now, we have DeRozan at 44.2 DraftKings points. We have Vooch at 45. We have LaVine at 41.3. So a little bit further back. And that's probably why you have DeRozan getting the most ownership, because he projects close enough to Vooch, but has much more favorable positional eligibility. LaVine has the most favorable positional eligibility, but he does project a bit behind DeRozan. I actually like the lack of ownership coming into LaVine, though. I think he's similar enough to DeRozan where, and the flexibility that you get with shooting guard, small forward, that getting, close, basically like 1/2 the ownership of DeRozan is pretty interesting. But really, I think any of Vooch, DeRozan, LaVine are good plays. Certainly a good spot for Vooch here going up against a weak Charlotte front court. He should have his way. $9K is a very reasonable salary for him.
How deep is center today, in your opinion?
I mean, not as much as usual, but still deep.
Anything else for Chicago?
No.
All right. So let's talk about Charlotte on the other side. They are big dogs here, but just looking like, and I think you mentioned this earlier, it is a smaller slate, but there are some decent high priced options. A few guys in that 8 and 9K range that are pulling pretty decent ownership. If LaMelo Ball is active today, he's currently questionable, missed 3 straight games coming into this one. So who knows if he's going to be active or not. If he ends up being active with these ankle and wrist injuries, and he's not limited, at least that's the word that we get, and he's full go, would you have interest in him if he's one of the lower owned guys towards this top range?
Not a ton. We have him with like a 3% chance of being optimal, 2% ownership. It would just be one of those spots where it's just like, oh yeah, I mean, LaMelo Ball could certainly have a big game, but there's just so many spots that I like more. It would be pretty difficult for me to want to prioritize him at 9,800. It's a good matchup, but there's just other spots that I really like.
All right. Well, Terry Rozier is probable. Essentially looking at Charlotte, one of the lesser owned teams collectively on the slate. We're mostly just looking at Mason Plumlee, who, look, +1 fantasy point per minute guy, solid per minute production. You're not always going to get 30+ minutes from him, but he's pulling around 12%. Not the worst matchup for a front court player, a center specifically in Plumlee. Do you want to get to some of him today? He's close to 7K right now on DraftKings.
Yeah, I still think the salary is fine. You're typically getting like 30 to 32 minutes from him. He's a 1.12 DraftKings point per minute guy this year. If Ball's out, he should look a little bit better because he's also a capable playmaker. You can see that assist percentage go up a bit. I think the ownership's about where it should be. I do think the backup center position for Charlotte's really interesting. Josh and I talked about it this morning, but you're getting this really, really interesting situation like around the industry where nobody knows who the backup center for Charlotte's going to be any given game. It had been Mark Williams for the last 3 or 4 prior to the last one. Then you got Nick Richards last game. The only discernible pattern that I've figured out so far is that so far they haven't had someone only play 1 game and then disappear again. It's been they play at least 2 in a row. So my very, very lightly educated guess is that it's Nick Richards as the backup today. But I still would say I'm like, I don't know, 52% sure it's Nick Richards. But the reason I think this is interesting is that like everywhere you look, including us, are projecting some sort of a split between Mark Williams and Nick Richards because of the uncertainty of who it's going to be. And so that makes sense from a standpoint of like, sort of from a median standpoint where you're saying like, okay, well, this is what he would project for. And I think there's like, a 60% chance he plays or whatever. But it doesn't make sense if you're someone playing tournaments and looking to take on a very high, risk reward situation, because you have both Nick Richards and Mark Williams at essentially minimum salary, $3K on DraftKings for Richards, $3,200 for Williams. Richards is at 1.03 DraftKings points per minute this year. Williams is at 1.27. If this game is competitive, you're most likely getting 30 to 32 minutes from Plumlee. You're most likely getting 16 to 18 from the completely unowned backup center. So I think, especially in larger field tournaments, it's probably worth just trying to guess which one it is. And again, I would very, very, very slightly lean towards Richards. But I think if you happen to get it right, there's a very high ceiling for you, especially because the ownership's reflecting how valuable guys in this price range are. You have so much ownership right now coming into like Kevin Love. You've had ownership coming into Ricky Rubio today. You have ownership coming into Zach Collins. You can get like a 0.5% owned point per minute guy or greater than point per minute guy if it's Williams, if you just happen to guess right here. So in large field tournaments, I think it makes sense to just sort of, I think kind of the 2 approaches would be either if you're playing 150 lineups to project both Richards and Williams to play, and then just make sure they're not in the same lineup. The problem with that is you're definitely taking zeros in some percentage of lineups. The other way I think you could approach it is just guess which one you think it's going to be and hope that you're right. But either way, I just think there's a lot of reward here that like nobody's going to go after because they're just being projected to split minutes, which isn't going to happen.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to get to for Charlotte? And we can flip this over to Detroit, which is a pretty interesting spot after this.
Yeah, nothing else. I mean, if LaMelo's out, everything starts to look marginally better for Charlotte. Rozier would look better. $5,200 McDaniels would look a little bit better. Dennis Smith Jr. probably plays 26 to 28 minutes at 4,500. I don't think there would be any true priorities at these salaries if LaMelo's out, but certainly would look better than if he's in.
All right. So Detroit, 7-point dog against Brooklyn. We'll dig into this one. 233.5 total. Nets playing their second of a back-to-back. Close loss last night in Philadelphia. Of course, still no Kevin Durant. Seth Curry's out too. But Isaiah Stewart's been sidelined a while. This is a weird one because Isaiah Livers is also questionable in this one. Last game we saw him start. Killian Hayes was out. Jalen Duren, though, how about the fact that like Nerlens Noel played 6 minutes in that game. Jalen Duren, despite the fact that they were getting the shit beat out of him from start to finish, at no point was this game competitive whatsoever. He still closed the game, played 8 straight minutes to close out the fourth quarter. It looked real bad at first. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be ugly. He ends up having a monster performance. And like I said, Noel didn't even play. There is a possibility that both Stewart and Isaiah Livers are both still out tonight.
Yeah, and there's also a possibility that even if Stewart is back, Duren remains in the starting lineup. So This is one spot where we really just need more information. What you're looking for here is, one, the obvious, do Stewart and Livers play? Because if they're both out, like if Stewart is out, you just can be, you assume Duren's going to start. And it doesn't matter to guess because you're going to have this lineup before the slate tips off. But if Stewart's out, then obviously you're expecting Duren to start, play big minutes. He's going to look really good at $5,100. But also prior to Duren missing time, he'd been starting alongside Isaiah Stewart. Then he came back. They used him as the backup to Stewart. But I don't know if that is their plan going forward or if they're, that was just sort of we're going to work him back into shape and then get back to what we were doing thing. So there's a chance that he's starting anyway. One way or the other, if Jalen Duren is starting at 5,100, he looks good. If he's not starting, I want no parts of him at 5,100. If Isaiah Stewart's playing at 5,400 and he is starting, I am interested in him with power forward eligibility, unless we hear that he's significantly restricted, which I don't think would be the case. But the starting tag for Duren is really going to matter. Isaiah Livers shouldn't really matter here too much, I don't think. But the front court situation certainly matters. And the reason that I don't think Livers matters is that Killian Hayes was out last game, but he's not on the report today.
Right, exactly. And Stewart we have Stewart with the highest leverage score on the slate right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a result of him being questionable. So his ownership.
I thought so too. Yeah. Well, I mean, how owned do you? Because we have him at 2.5% ownership. How popular do you think he'll actually be in the event that he's active?
I mean, we have him with a 13% chance of being optimal, so I'd say probably like 10 to 11.
Yeah. So he'd still probably be a pretty decent play there. Probably still have positive leverage.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good play.
Yeah. And again, it's against the Brooklyn team right now that certainly you expect Brooklyn to come in and win this game because it's the Detroit Pistons, but that hasn't kept Detroit from having some pretty valuable options this season. They've also been having guys in and out of the rotation. Again, like we talked about, Isaiah Stewart's status is obviously significant, but what if, let's say he is active? What does that do for if Duren starts? You already pointed that out. Like if Duren starts, he still has some value here. Stewart would be fine as well. What would it do for the rest of the team? Or really, what does the rest of the team look like right now?
If
just to let's just say in or out, like does Stewart being out affect for you anybody other than Jalen Duren?
I mean, it has an impact on Saddiq Bey potentially, but Saddiq Bey is also $5,700, so I'm probably not going to care too much one way or the other. It just impacts him in the sense where if Stewart is in, but they still start Jalen Duren, then you have $5,700 Saddiq Bey coming off the bench, which clearly just makes him look even worse. But even if $5,700 Saddiq Bey is starting, I'm not overly interested. So there's some impact there, but other than that, it shouldn't impact much as far as guys you want to play. Like if Isaiah Stewart is out, and we have Saddiq Bey starting, sure, there's more minutes available for some combination of Isaiah Livers or Amadou Diallo at 4,300, but I don't really want to get to those guys anyway.
Okay. So this is basically just a front court spot for you for the most of it?
I think the rest of the starters too, though, like Ivy, Bogdanovich, Hayes, those guys all look good. They're all pulling around 10% ownership, give or take. One spot that is sort of interesting to me is that Jaden Ivey's pulling 11% ownership to Killian Hayes 9%. They're about the same price. Hayes is $100 cheaper. We'd seen Hayes playing more minutes than Ivy and pulling a lot more ownership recently. Now it's kind of flipped, although not by a lot. I think they're just really similar plays where happy to get to either one. Don't expect to just be going crazy on either one, though.
All right. Hey, hit that thumbs up if you guys haven't done so. I know people are coming in late. No problem. You got lives. You got work. You got matters to attend to. But, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask politely, hey, hit that thumbs up. We forget. We got busy lives. We have things going on. We get distracted. That's what I'm here for, to help you remember. On the Brooklyn side, though, here, this is a spot that we're definitely going to be looking at a lot. I mean, not just Kyrie Irving, but even someone like Nicholas Claxton in this matchup against Detroit. I know he's a mid 7K price point, center only eligible, but still a strong spot. 20% ownership, looks great in the boom bust tool. The guy is when you're talking about somebody like Claxton, I always love these type of players because they can provide more just than the basics. Like this guy, when it comes to blocking shots, has been electric this year. We talked about guys like Jaren Jackson Jr., but man, Claxton, this dude's shot blocking ability, his block rate this season is through the roof. His ability to rack up stocks, double doubles. He's got 3 of his last 4 with 20 plus points, 11 plus rebounds, and he's blocking anywhere from 3 to 5 shots per game, Adam. And his minutes, 35, 38, 36, 38 over his last 4 games. You could argue, I honestly think you could make an argument that he might not be expensive enough if he continued playing this many minutes.
Yeah, it's almost similar to what we've seen with Alperen Şengün, where he's gotten 2 things working for him at the same time. One, he's just playing way more minutes now. He's averaged about 34 minutes per game over his last 10. He's averaged about 35 minutes per game over his last 5. So clearly that would drive his price tag up. But also with Kevin Durant on the floor this year, Claxton's averaged 1.04 DraftKings points per minute. Without Durant on the floor, he's at 1.22 DraftKings points per minute. So you get this big bump in production. He's really the only guy on the team other than Kyrie that we've seen have a sizable increase in his production without Durant, which really just speaks to just how shitty the rest of this team is, or at least how incapable of doing anything other than catching and shooting the rest of this team is. But you've seen, a little bit of not even a little bit. His usage rate without Durant is like 19.5%. With Durant, it's like 15.5. 19.5 obviously isn't a lot, but when you're talking about a center that is basically just dunking and going to be very efficient, it adds up pretty quickly. So you're getting increased playing time and you're getting increased production. This is the first time in a while, at least that I can remember, where a mid 7K Claxton is actually popular. So that makes him a little bit scarier. It's always more appealing to get there when, he's 2, 3, 4% owned. But at the same time, I think that the price tag is warranted, even though there's certainly sticker shock. When you look and you're just like, wait, I'm paying $7,600 for a popular Nick Claxton. But I think the numbers back it up, both playing time and production. So certainly fine with getting to him there. I think he looks good. It's also not like it's a bad matchup here at all against Detroit. So Claxton looks really good to me. Kyrie still looks good. Price tag keeps climbing, but he's $10,300. He's averaged 1.33 DraftKings points per minute without Durant on the floor this year. He's been a little bit better, around 1.4 to 1.45 DraftKings points per minute in the 6 full games that he's played without Durant. And you're just getting around 38 minutes too in a good matchup. So it's another situation where if you want to argue that Kyrie is going a little bit over-owned and that there are other good lower-owned guard plays to get to, I think you're correct. But even going over-owned, he has around a 25 to 26% chance of being optimal here. And that's pretty high. It's a situation where in a lot of lineups, I'm going to be perfectly happy playing Kyrie and finding other spots to be contrarian. So to me, Irving and Claxton are the 2 clear priorities here. Then you start to get into everything else. O'Neal, Curry, Harris, all cheap enough and with multi-position eligibility. So I'm interested in them. We had Joe Harris foul out in 20 minutes last game. He's also been very bad this year, but he's only 4,100, pulling 7% ownership with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. That looks like it's going a little bit under-owned, and that's backed up by the boom bust tool with about a 10.5% chance of being optimal. Curry's likely to find his way into the closing lineup over Ben Simmons in a lot of cases. Royce O'Neal is just going to give you like 34 to 36 minutes at 5,400 with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. So I'm on board with all of those guys. The one guy here that's getting ownership that I don't totally understand or agree with is Ben Simmons, pulling 21% at 6,700. I understand and agree that he has a high ceiling here because in the perfect Ben Simmons game, he has triple-double upside and he plays like 34 minutes. The big concern that I have is that he's still only been a 1 fantasy point per minute guy on average without Kevin Durant on the floor. And with Kyrie Irving active, it's very likely that Ben Simmons is not in the closing lineup tonight and only plays something like 28 or 29 minutes. When Kyrie is in, it makes it easier for them not to have Simmons on the floor because teams can just foul him down the stretch, send him to the line where he's absolutely useless. When Kyrie was out, you needed those 34, 35 minutes from Simmons because you don't have other playmakers on this team. But when you have Kyrie running the offense, it makes it easier to just bring Seth Curry in for those closing minutes. He's a better shooter and, keep Simmons on the bench. The counter argument here would be they are 7-point home favorites against Detroit. Maybe if they're winning, they elect for Simmons defense, but still in that case, you're in that situation where you can just hack Ben Simmons for a while. So I do have concerns with his playing time and the fact that he's 21% owned. If he were like 10% owned and I had those same exact concerns, I'd be more willing to take a chance just because the ceiling certainly is there. But if 1/5 of the field's going to be rostering this guy that I don't really think is that good of a play, then I'm not really looking to get to that much.
So top plays from this one:
Claxton
Irving,
and Kyrie.
Yeah, Claxton and Kyrie Irving. Isaiah Livers and Isaiah Stewart are on track to play tonight, Adam.
Cool.
So,
okay.
Wait, what?
When did that happen?
Who, Seth? Seth? Yeah, I mentioned it earlier that Seth Curry's out.
Oh, well, I missed it.
My fault.
On the 5:30 injury report, he's questionable, so I hadn't seen that he was out.
I think he was ruled out like right after we started. And sorry, I missed. I would have interrupted you if I heard it. I didn't hear you mention it. That I didn't hear you mention Seth Curry, but yeah, he's out. He was ruled out at 542 around.
Okay, yeah. So I didn't see that. That does change Brooklyn. It makes Ben Simmons' playing time more stable. So I'm not as concerned about Simmons' minutes now. I still don't love the ownership, but I do think it's likely you get like 30 to 32 minutes from Simmons. Harris's playing time looks a little bit better. O'Neal should stay about the same. You probably just get, random bench minutes from like Edmund Sumner.
All right. 3 down, 3 to go. Got live before lock after this. I believe it's your typical crew. I think it's going to be Greg and Eric Lindquist. They'll carry you up to lock. Are they going through lock? Do they got an extra 30 minutes today? Yeah, Mike, they do. Okay, they do. Also, we're pretty stoked to announce that we are now an authorized partner of Sorare. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I'm sure many of you have, right? They have partnerships with soccer, with the MLB, and of course the NBA as well. And this is one of the first places right here on Stokastic that you're actually going to find a bonus offer when you sign up at Sorare. First of all, if you don't know what it is, 1, check it out. 2, I'll give you a brief little synopsis of what we're getting into here. But all you do, if you're trying to take advantage of this bonus, and it's a nice bonus for sure, you sign up for a new Sorare account using the link in the description, and you're getting a free limited card after completing your first 5 purchases on the primary market. Now, I looked at this and I'm like, okay, what does it have to be? Looks like it could be any 5 primary purchases, as little as you want. You can also play for free there. I actually signed up today to check it out. It's pretty cool. I signed up for free, and you can pick one card where it's like an MVP. I picked Giannis, and then you get a starter pack, which was a lot of different cards. And if you hit on some of those, you're in serious business. Unfortunately for me, I did not get the best cards in the starter pack. But I know Greg Ehrenberg did this a little while ago and ended up hitting on some nice cards. He's been playing a lot of the free contests as well and said he's actually won some stuff. You win rewards, you win cards, you can win limited cards, you can win some of the higher tier cards. But getting a free limited card when you sign up using the link and the promotion, it's a massive perk for signing up because there's only 5,000 of them. They're all tracked on the Ethereum blockchain. You always know how many of them are in circulation. So essentially, Sorare, it's a collection of digital trading cards. NFT-based, free-to-play game. Now, you can purchase stuff on the secondary market. You can purchase other starter packs and all of that good stuff, but it's free to play. If you wanted to just dip your feet in, use that link and check it out before committing to anything and then say, hey, I'd like to get my limited card. I'll do that as well. But they're all backed by NFTs. Each minute on the blockchain, like I said, partnered with NBA, Major League Baseball, over 300 soccer clubs worldwide. A lot of awesome stuff going on over there. You're testing your skills. You're managing a team, creating dream teams composed of their favorite player collectibles, compete in tournaments against other fans as well. So check it out if you'd like to do so. You're building lineups. You're setting your lineups as you would anywhere else. You're throwing them in there. Get your free starter packs. Check it out. Maybe you hit on something nice and get that free limited card as well when you sign up using the link. Sorare, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. Pretty stoked to be partnered with these guys. Check it out. Let me know what you guys think as well, because I'm brand new to it as on top of that. All right, let's talk about, and of course you can buy, sell, trade, and all of that stuff, just like you would on any other market or marketplace. All right, Cleveland and Houston. Let's get into this one. Cleveland Cavs, Adam, going up against a even more shorthanded Houston team that's without Kevin Porter already. Jayshawn Tate is out. Eric Gordon is out. For Cleveland, you mentioned Kevin Love, questionable for this one, did not go through shoot around. And at the same time, Donovan Mitchell, unless you've seen updates here with that groin, still looks to be questionable. I don't think we have Kevin Love in our projections or our ownership right now, which makes sense given that he didn't go through shoot around.
We do, though. He's projected for 13% ownership and 17 points.
Oh, okay. Never mind. We must have added him. When I looked, let me update this. Yes, we did.
As of like 12 minutes ago.
No, you're right. You're right. I hadn't updated it yet. I just did now. Okay, we do. So we still have him in. If he's out, what does it change for you?
So it opens up more minutes, but at the same time, he only played 12 minutes last game. I think you probably see a little bit more Chetty, but he played 3 minutes last game. So like 1, it doesn't even have to be him. And 2, it doesn't have to be enough minutes to matter. I don't know that if it's just Kevin Love out, I don't think it makes anybody substantially better, but it does sort of make the path a little bit easier for any combination of like, mainly, I guess, for like Isaac Okoro maybe to get there or Chetty to play more minutes. I think Okoro would probably be the guy that already looks playable, if we use that word very loosely, and would just look maybe a little bit better.
Okay. If Donovan Mitchell's out, I mean, that gets interesting. I guess we don't do you have any feel for this whatsoever?
My guess is he doesn't play. I didn't see if he went through shoot around. I know he didn't practice yesterday though.
I don't understand why they do that either, because you'll get a shoot around report on one player from the team and not for another player on the team who's also questionable. I was thinking that earlier too. I have no idea. Yeah, I didn't see one for Donovan Mitchell. Let's for a second assume he's out. What do we do with Darius Garland, who's sub 9K right now? If he's out, Garland looks great. If Mitchell is in, Garland looks good. Like right now we have Mitchell projected in. We still have Garland with like a 6% chance of being optimal, getting a bit more ownership than that. But if Mitchell's out, Garland's certainly going to look better. You get a nice bump in usage for him without Mitchell on the floor. You have an excellent matchup. So he would go from being, just a decent option in tournaments to I think somebody that you're actively building around tonight. 1.23 DraftKings points per minute for Garland in 528 minutes without Mitchell on the floor, 29% usage rate, 36.5% assist percentage. He looks very, very good if Mitchell is out. It also moves the needle quite a bit for a $5,600 Karis LeVert. At $5,600, if Mitchell is in and you're getting Karis LeVert off the bench, I don't really have any interest at all. But if Mitchell is out, you're most likely getting Karis LeVert into the starting lineup and playing mid-30s in minutes, which would make him look very good, especially with shooting guard and small forward eligibility. We've seen LeVert play some monster minutes when Donovan Mitchell was off the floor. So, yeah. I mean, at this price point in this range, especially against Houston, right? Bottom 4 defense, play at a relatively fast pace. Not as fast as they once did, but still a relatively fast pace. Karis LeVert would have to be one of the best values in this range, right? Yeah, I think so. I think he would end up being extremely popular. And it's an interesting price because he's overpriced for his normal role, but then he's underpriced for the role that makes him useful. We've talked about it before with backup quarterbacks and, backup centers. There's an argument you could make where it's just these guys should be priced for what they'd be when they start, because otherwise nobody's ever playing them anyway. And that's sort of what it's like with LeVert here. You've seen his price tag trend up because of the games that Mitchell missed, but it didn't move up fast enough to make him the correct price to be starting. And he's overpriced to come off the bench, but nobody's playing him off the bench anyway. I would say backup running backs. Yeah, that's a good one too. And then remember DraftKings started doing that. They just started pricing every Alexander Madison type player at 6,200. Right. Because if a starter got ruled out, you're walking into a situation getting a minimum salary backup. You're right though. Well, and he's also priced like this because Mitchell had missed some time, right, or a couple games. So I don't know. When was Mitchell last out? Recently. I think he missed the game on the 18th. He missed a couple games in between there. So yeah, LeVert clearly saw a spike in price point as a result, but you're right. If Mitchell's out, that's going to open things up for him. What do you want to do if everyone's in today? Not including Kevin Love as much, but if Mitchell's in, you already talked about Garland. Actually, let's talk about the front court. We're kind of burying the lead here. Jared Allen pulling 24% projected ownership right now against this Houston team. Yeah, and I think he looks good here at 6,500. Should play mid-30s in minutes. Has a great matchup against Houston's front court. He's over a fantasy point per minute guy. Doesn't really matter either if Mitchell is in or out. It's not going to have a big impact on Jared Allen, but he's going to look good one way or the other. Evan Mobley's price tag has come up. He's one where I think he looks fine if Mitchell is in, but I think he looks better if he's out. 1.1 DraftKings points per minute without Mitchell on the floor this year for Mobley. So yeah, I like him either way, but certainly like him more if Mitchell is out. But Jared Allen's going to look good one way or the other. Okay. Let's talk about Houston. One other piece, or piece and a half. I saw Sean V mentioning him in chat. I don't care how Isaac Okoro has been shooting over the last month. I do care that he's $3,600 with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. He's facing the Rockets and he's 3% owned. If we get a situation where
either, like if Mitchell's out, that could open up more minutes for Okoro. If Love's out, it could open up more minutes. But even if, Mitchell's in, but you get other situations where value doesn't open up, I think he's perfectly fine as a, dart throw type guy when you're getting all this ownership coming into guys like Kevin Love or Zach Collins or, whoever. I think that Isaac Okoro sucks from a fantasy standpoint. I don't think he magically figured out how to be better, but I just think he's not getting quite enough ownership. And then similarly with Rubio at 3,300, if Mitchell's in, I'm not particularly interested, but we did see 18 or 19 minutes from Rubio the last time Mitchell sat. So physically we know he can play it. He's 3,300. It's a good spot. As long as the ownership doesn't go crazy, if Mitchell's out, I think he benefits as well.
All right, let's get into the weeds a little bit here with Garrison Matthews. So we have him currently, and of course he's minimum salary, all of that understood. Third highest owned player on the slate behind Kyrie Irving and a center we will talk about later in the show. We have him with the lowest leverage score on the slate in our boom bust tool at minus 17.1. He is clearly, one of the beneficiaries of the absence of all of these guards / swingmen on the Houston Rockets. But Adam, he's also going up against, and I just want to make sure we can lay the foundation for this one and you can give us your take. He's also going up against a Cleveland team that has the best defensive rating in the league. He's going up against a Cleveland team that is number 30, playing at the slowest pace in basketball, and he averages less than 0.7 DraftKings points per minute. So I understand he's minimum salary, but you're still talking about a guy that is largely underwhelming in probably the worst DFS matchup that you could get. And he's very popular.
And he also may not be starting. So that's the other piece here. We don't have Eric Gordon. We don't have Jayshawn Tate. So right now, it seems like we're expecting Matthews to start, but we've not really gotten any time this year where none of Kevin Porter Jr., Deshaun Nix, Ty Washington, Eric Gordon, or Jayshawn Tate have been on the floor. There's been 93 minutes where Jalen Green's been out there without Porter, Nix, Washington, or Gordon, but Tate was out there for 90 of them. So I'm not super confident we get Garrison Matthews starting, but for the sake of conversation, if he does, he projects as a good point per dollar option because he is 3K flat, but 32% is just insane ownership for somebody like Garrison Matthews that just isn't a high usage guy at all. It's very, very difficult for him to put up enough fantasy points that he buries you if you don't have him. And it's very easy for him to just go for like 16 fantasy points, and the people that did play him are in trouble. So if that ownership is true, even if he's starting, I'm not particularly interested. But I think there's a decent chance that you get Knicks starting anyway. He's averaged 0.74 DraftKings points per minute this year. It's not like that's overly exciting either, and it is still a bad matchup, but he's also a 3K flat. So certainly pay attention to the starting lineup here because I'm not convinced that it has to be Garrison Matthews.
Jojo said he just did the Sorare promo, the Sorare partnership we have. Like I said, I used a link in order to get this. Got LeBron, Draymond, Trent, Horford. It's actually not that bad, dude. Pulling a LeBron and Draymond for free. Let me know too. Let me know what your limited is if you make those purchases too. I'm assuming it could be any purchases whatsoever, as cheap as they are, Jojo. Let me know if you get something good as far as limiteds go. That would be interesting to me because then you can actually start building a good team. A solid breakdown on Matthews. I mean, he's also just not very good. So even let me ask you this though. Even if he does start, you don't feel like this is one of those spots where if he really is owned by a third of the field, if he does start, that you could get a lot of leverage by not fading, but coming in underweight on?
That's exactly how I feel.
Okay.
Yeah, like he's a 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy in a bad matchup against Cleveland. Let's say he starts and plays like 36 minutes. You would expect him to get like 24 DraftKings points or something. You're also not expecting 36 minutes. He's probably playing like 28 to 30. Right now we have him projected for 17.3 DraftKings points. It's just one of those spots where that's going to show up in optimizers because he has shooting guard, small forward eligibility. He allows you to get to Luka or whatever form of pay up options you want. You're going to get very high projected lineups that have Garrison Matthews, but it kind of just diminishes your ceiling in that you're using a roster spot on somebody who, unless he has basically the best game of his career, isn't going to put up a score that you have to have and that you can't match elsewhere. So that's where the ownership really scares me.
No doubt. What about the rest of Oh, and he's also a wing. Like those guys, they're the worst value plays when it comes to actually being able to accumulate fantasy points and stumble into them. Like if you're a guard, if you're a point guard, like a TJ McConnell type or a backup center, you can stumble into that type of production on accident.
Right. That's like if you so like without Kevin Porter Jr. on the floor this year, Matthews has played 308 minutes, 0.66 DraftKings points per minute. Knicks has played 405. 0.72 DraftKings points per minute. But for Knicks, you still have a 24.7% assist percentage to go with his 14% usage rate. So there's just sort of one more avenue if he's the guy that gets to start, or he could end up just walking into a good game because, maybe he just gets more assists converted than normal. He's at least going to have that role. Whereas Garrison Matthews' role is to just run around the floor, do wind sprints, have a 14% usage rate, and hope he knocks down some shots. So it's just, one less avenue for him to get there. If Garrison Matthews has a game where he gets like 8 assists or 8 rebounds, it just means you got really lucky. Whereas like if Deshaun Nix gets 8 or 9 assists, it's like, okay, that was clearly, in the range of outcomes for him.
Exactly. Well, then how else do you want to approach Houston today? Of course, like we said, slow-paced matchup, tough matchup against Cleveland. But I think we would be silly not to at least talk about Şengün coming off another triple-double. What a stud this guy's becoming.
Yeah, so Şengün in tournaments is really, really interesting. He's similarly priced to Vooch, who deservedly is getting more ownership in a much, much better matchup against Charlotte. You have other centers to get to. Claxton, pulling a bunch of ownership at 1,100 less, and he should be. But Şengün still has all those things going for him that he did yesterday and in other recent games where he's playing a lot more minutes because Houston has changed up their rotation and they're not running that 3-center rotation anymore. He's also averaged 1.33 DraftKings points per minute without Porter on the floor this year. Even if you account for the matchup against Cleveland, he's still projects as a very good point per minute guy. So I understand why he's getting less ownership than other players because of the matchup. It is a very difficult spot, but he is still playing huge minutes. He does still benefit from KPJ being out. The ceiling is still there. He's just going to hit it a little bit less frequently because of the matchup. So as long as that ownership stays down, I'm interested in him. Same can be said for Jalen Green. Inefficient shooter, but still has a 32.5% usage rate without Kevin Porter Jr., pulling 3% ownership. Anytime you have a mid-range guy who has the opportunity, the potential to play 36 to 38 minutes with 33% usage, I'm interested if he's 3% owned. I don't really care who he's playing against. The ownership is accounting for the matchup, basically. So I like both of those guys in tournaments. Tari Eason's pulling ownership here, and I'm not exactly sure why. I kind of had a brain cramp on the show this morning and was thinking maybe he would start if Eric Gordon was out, but I blanked Jabari Smith out. I don't think there's any chance of them going with Jabari Smith, Eason, and Şengün together. So I'm still expecting Eason to just be the backup to Jabari Smith. Eason is a good point per minute guy. He's 4,400, but I just have a hard time getting to him. Jabari Smith, though, is only $700 or $800 more expensive. He's at 0.9.
Boy, Lop. No, I have said nothing wrong in this one. All right. Absolutely nothing. So hopefully we're good. Let me just make sure here. All right. Let's hope that we're back. Anything else? Anything else for, and basically you were just talking about how Şengün and Green continue to make for good tournament plays. And anything else for Houston? Cause now we got to speed this up a bit.
Yeah, I just said that Şengün and Green clearly have high ceilings in a bad matchup. Jabari Smith as well. Just don't really understand why he's getting no ownership, especially when Tari Eason is pulling ownership as his backup.
Turn the sound on, Mike. Do you have the sound off? All right, go ahead.
Do I need to repeat that? Okay. Şengün and Green, good high ceilings in tournaments. I think Jabari Smith's going a little bit under-owned. KJ Martin's pulling ownership just because he's a 5K small forward. Sure, but you can find other equally as good options.
Okay. Jeremy, I want my free time back. All right. So talking about Dallas and Phoenix here, let's move on to this one. You've got the Mavericks coming into Phoenix, just once again, beat up Phoenix team, missing Cameron Payne, Devin Booker, Landry Shamet out. DeAndre Ayton already said he's going to play, but let's start it with Dallas. 1.5 point dogs, 221.5 point total here. I'm just going to, we're short on time after these issues. So let me just throw this to you, Adam. And of course you have Live Before Lock coming up right after this. Do me a favor, hit on both sides of this game. I don't think you're going to have an insane amount to talk about from Phoenix, so I think we can cover both of these in one shot.
Yeah, so from the Dallas side, Luka goes without saying. If you can get there, great. We touched on it on the top of the show. You just kind of need to find ways to be different while getting there, because you're going to get a lot of overlap in roster construction. But outside of that, highest projected guy on the slate by a wide margin. But they're also running really tight rotations now. So you have a lot of ownership coming into this team. All of Josh Green, Dorian Finney-Smith, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dwight Powell, Spencer Dinwiddie are pulling between 12 and 18% ownership on DraftKings. They all just look fine. They're perfectly good ways to round out your lineup. Josh Green's playing big minutes, not a great point per minute guy, but 3,500 small forward, just another value piece you can get to. Finney-Smith in the same boat, big minutes, not a good point per minute guy. Dwight Powell, the playing time has been all over the place, but did play north of 30 again last game. He's only $3,600. So Doncic, Dinwiddie, Hardaway, I think are the ones that you can feel the best about, but the price tags are so cheap on Powell, Finney-Smith, and Green that they're going to look pretty good as well. On the Phoenix side, Chris Paul, the only guy pulling double-digit ownership at 7,700. We've seen big minutes from him recently. He was on his way to another big game last time out, had not turned into a huge blowout. So he makes sense, pulling 18% ownership. But I think that DeAndre Ayton and Cameron Johnson are appealing tournament plays as well. Ayton is at that loaded center position, but does see a bump without Devin Booker in usage. Does have a pretty good matchup here against the Dallas front court, although Dallas is a very slow team. Cameron Johnson, though, only played about 18 minutes last time out, but that's a game where he just didn't play late because of garbage time. I don't think he's really much different than somebody like KJ Martin or Tim Hardaway Jr. that are pulling a lot more ownership than him. So I do like Cameron Johnson as a tournament pivot away from those guys.
All right. We'll close this one out with the Spurs and Clippers. Thanks for sticking with us, by the way, guys. Also, thanks for getting the 500 likes, even though we had the technical difficulties. I think most of you are understanding here. We appreciate it. Look, I can tell you, I hate when this shit happens. We all do. Nobody wants a stream to go down, and especially on a show like this. So appreciate it. San Antonio Spurs are 12.5 point dogs, 233 total. They have a particularly low implied total on this site, but Sohan doubtful, Richardson, Stanley Johnson questionable, Romeo Langford out. I know a lot of these names don't sound particularly important, but Adam, just given the complexion of this roster already, if Sohan ends up being out, what type of value opens up? We already have a ton of cheap Spurs players pulling some ownership today.
Yeah, it has the potential to just become kind of a shit show of a bunch of guys that you don't want to roster, but that need to play minutes. Because with Langford out yesterday, you got Keita Bates-Diop in the starting lineup. He played about 25 minutes. I expect he starts again today, regardless of any of this injury news. But then, you had 27 minutes from Sohan. Those minutes need to be replaced. You got 25 minutes from Josh Richardson. Those minutes might need to be replaced. So there's a good chance that you end up with Malachi Branham moving into the starting lineup. Doug McDermott could certainly need to play some more minutes. This team has the potential to be very, very shorthanded, depending how this news breaks. Maybe you get, Isaiah Roby soaking up some minutes. So to know where to go, you're going to need, more information. But if we assume that the questionable guys are in, I still think 3K for Keita Bates-Diop is a reasonable play, should play around 26 minutes. You have Zach Collins pulling 34% ownership, which is absurd. He's a good point per dollar play, but that's a ton of ownership for somebody that, if this game goes according to plan, is probably playing around 20 minutes. But again, if you're contrarian somewhere else, you can use Collins for value. I like Jakob Poeltl, 7% owned, starting center, 6K, 1.2 to 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy without Vassell. I think that's a good way to leverage away from the Zach Collins ownership. If Poeltl plays, let's say 28 minutes, you're getting less minutes than projected for Collins. So I like that in tournaments. You get high ceilings for Trey Jones and Keldon Johnson, but I wouldn't say that they're priorities.
Yeah, Collins is real popular, but at least he's a big who averages north of a fantasy point per minute.
Yeah, my concern with Collins is that he's center only. So let's say he plays like 18, 20 minutes, gets you like 22 DraftKings points at 3,700. It's going to be like, okay, cool. I got 22 from Zach Collins, but you're probably going to have a couple centers on this slate that go for like 50, 55. And it's just like, yeah, cool. I can't win with Zach Collins.
Yeah, absolutely.
The alternative, though, or the flip side, though, is if you get that game like you did yesterday, where he goes for 28 DraftKings points or whatever it was, you're 31. In a really, really good spot.
Yeah, 31 yesterday against the Lakers, which, looks great in 24 minutes at that price point. And his salary hasn't really budged. All right, on to the Clippers, unless you got anything else for the Spurs.
I do not.
All right, we'll wrap it up with this. Greg and Eric coming up next. Paul George, man. How about Paul George? And by the way, everyone that was Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball are in. So,
okay, cool.
And Terry Rozier is in as well, but we anticipated that to be the case. How about this Paul George ownership? 32%. The rest of the team pulling sub 7% ownership. But listen, he's going up against the San Antonio Spurs team that is dead last in defensive rating this season. They're another one of these teams we've talked about it, top 7 in pace. The Spurs do, in the event that this game's close enough to where the starters are now midway through the third, and it shouldn't be, but they do make for it, one of, if not the best matchup in basketball right now for opposing teams.
Yeah, and Paul George is just clearly one of the best plays today because he also has shooting guard and small forward eligibility. So 32% ownership makes a lot of sense. The first contrarian pivot that comes to mind would be Zach LaVine for 400 more at 1/3 the ownership. But there's a reason George is getting more ownership, and it's just that he's pretty clearly mispriced here. 1.22 DraftKings points per minute in 19 games with Kawhi active this year. Great matchup, like you said. Beyond that, there's nothing that stands out right now, but we do have Q tags on Marcus Morris and Luke Kennard, which could open up some more playing time for guys. If we assume they're in, though, I do have interest in a $5,700 Zubats in tournaments. I'm sure that isn't surprising to anybody. 0.86 DraftKings points per minute in the games he's played with George and Kawhi this year, but he just has a path to playing north of 30 minutes in a great spot. If Morris is out, you potentially see those minutes solidified even more. So after Paul George, to me, Zubats is the next best play here.
Okay. Hey, by the way, Stokastic Hall of Fame coming up next. Make sure to check. Do we have that queued up, Mike, for the intermission? All right, we'll flip it if we can. Appreciate you guys. As always, follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS. I'm at Lafayette_D. Remember, you want to check out what I was talking Sorare, new partner for the show. You can play for free, do it however you want. Go get your starter packs. Links in the description. Let me know if you get anything good too. I'll likely be jealous because I pulled all shit, but that's just the luck of the draw. Sometimes you end up getting super lucky on that stuff and building yourself up something nice over there. So check it out. Greg and Eric coming up next. Thanks, guys.
It's all mad risky to let him down.
Doesn't make a difference. It's all good. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another Stokastic NBA Live Before Lock, and it's a special one. The reason why is because we got a new sponsor here today, Sorare. If you guys have never played on Sorare, it's a digital card game that you could play also DFS contests on. So pretty fun collectible type game. And in the post-lock show, Eric and I are going to be doing our normal thing where we react to any kind of live news that happens, talk about any breaking news in terms of lineup stuff that happens that we're not expecting, but also we're going to build out some Sorare lineups. So hopefully that'll be fun for us to do in the post-lock show. In the meantime, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. For the next 50 minutes, Eric and I are going to be talking about all the news and all of our favorite plays for tonight's NBA slate. Eric, what is happening with you?
Yo, trying to get the TV rocking here. I got my Sorare background ready to get going, but really fun product. What was that?
Do you, as we look behind you and that's just not what's on the screen? What is
right
it?
off the bat? Right off the bat.
Turn it back. Oh, okay, there it is. I wanted to see what other apps you had on your screen there.
Yeah, those are for me and me only.
I just want to see, does OnlyFans have an app?
I don't know. You gotta subscribe like everybody else, baby. Yeah, I ain't giving this away for free.
Tried my best. A shout out to Loughran. Just saw that he gifted out some Stokastic YouTube subscriptions. And also, if you guys have any questions for us over the course of the show, super chats, or if you're just in Discord, at me in Discord, be answering all those questions as we go along. Sorry, Eric, I kind of cut you off there. What are some of the other prominent apps on your phone?
It's okay. I'm pretty sure nobody can hear us right now. Is that the case? Can anybody hear us? Hello, there we are again. That was good. Other apps that I have on my phone, I have I don't even know where to go with the Wiggles joke. It's been a while since I had a Wiggles joke, but I was going to go for that. Duolingo. I got ready to go to the old Paris, France. Before doing so, had to brush up on the So a lot of Duolingo. They probably alert me more than any app at this point in time, and that's a little concerning to me.
I like Duolingo. I've been trying to learn Spanish on Duolingo. I do my challenges every day.
Que lástima.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a fun way to learn a language. I like it. I've been doing Duolingo. I'm like 2 weeks into my Spanish lessons now.
Nice. Good for you. They have all these cool little cartoon characters that I don't know. It's a really fun way to go about learning a language. There's no doubt about it. I used it for a couple of months leading up to it. Didn't think it was going to help me. It legitimately saved me 2 or 3 times. Because imagine this. Eric screwed up directions in France. We got lost at places.
Yeah, Eric's just walking around everywhere. How do I stick the Eiffel Tower up my ass? And they're all just staring at him because he's...
That's literally do you remember... Did you ever watch all that on Nickelodeon?
Yeah, that's actually because somehow Amanda Bynes came up in a conversation I was in a couple days ago. So there we go. Back.
Okay, so Kenan Thompson, he did the... Ole bouton français. oh, why do I have a baguette in France? Ho, 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 ho. He always did the bathtub jokes where he was learning the French sayings. Do you remember that?
No, that show was absolute trash. I didn't like it.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember specifically that. You could Google it. It exists.
Yeah,
You're not going to do that.
That familiar with very
Good
many.
talk. Glad we had
all
it.
that upset. You know what I am familiar with? NBA DFS and the slate we have today, which is only 6 games and not a crazy amount of news on the injury report. I was thinking LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, guys who could potentially get ruled out. They were questionable, but they were just ruled in. The other one too, 24 hours ago, we got word that Donovan Mitchell was going to be out for at least a couple of games. And then right after that report came out, he was listed as questionable in the injury report. So how are you leaning towards Donovan Mitchell? Because he's clearly the biggest piece that we have to go right now. We still got Kevin Love is questionable. That matters a little bit. Stanley Johnson is questionable. That does not really matter all that much for the Spurs. But Kevin Love and Donovan Mitchell, we're really keeping an eye on the Cavs. Do you have a lean here with the Mitchell situation?
Yeah, no, I don't. This is like 3 days in a row now where I don't have a lean on anything. I'm updating some things over here on my end, but I currently have him in. I think just I don't know. It feels like another true coin flip, and with the lock time, you have half the slate locking at the same time at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if we get the news before then, none of this matters because we'll be able to adjust to it. Everybody watching this show, 47 minutes to go before that lock time, we'll be able to adjust our lineups to do it. If it comes out after that, ask me in like 15 minutes before the slate locks what I plan to do, because we'll really have to make some decisions. Obviously, Houston, this total has been bet down big time. It opened at 224. It's down to 219.5 here at this given moment. And from the Cleveland side, just the opportunity you'd get in a great matchup against Houston. I already have interesting guys like Evan Mobley and Darius Garland as it is without that news, but I think he's going to be playing, but we shall see.
Yeah, and sorry, I thought you were going to talk a little long. I'm not used to. You're usually. I was drinking my water there. I thought you were going to keep going.
Oh, sorry.
I misread the cues there. But
it's our first time doing a show together today, so it's all right.
Yeah, today. But usually you're a little bit longer winded. I've got like a clock in my head, and I go, all right, I know Eric's going to.
You just insulted me at the same time that you just didn't want to claim responsibility. That maybe you should have been ready. You should have had water earlier in the soliloquy.
I think Chow would be on my side. Sometimes you give long answers to questions, and I thought you were building.
It's always on your side.
Answer.
It's disgusting.
But it's also
everybody.
But also, why is that a disparagement? It's just you talk for like that's not a negative or a positive. It's just sometimes you talk for a while.
I have a feeling that if I came on these shows and just didn't talk for 45 minutes here up until lock, I might be in trouble.
I have a feeling that we would get a lot more likes and subscriptions to the YouTube channel. If we're just talking about what I think the fallout would be.
You're such a bad person.
No, I am a factual person, and you guys should like.
Y'all are dramatic. Rex Riang, I'm not dramatic.
Yeah, Eric is not dramatic. He never tilts DFS slates, and
Never.
he's a prominent force on Twitter at the moment.
I've been very calm on Twitter lately.
Yeah, that is very accurate. There's no doubt about that. You made a couple of bomb threats on Twitter. You may have threatened to hurt yourself, and you're not on there anymore. But it's been a while since you've done any of those things. You definitely cooled it down.
Elon, if you're watching, my dude, what's going on? Why you got to do this?
If he's watching the show, there is no chance that he's going to let you back on Twitter.
Yeah, it's probably true.
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're going to start saying, I could show you the world and be like, yeah, we need this guy on our platform. Yeah, play all the hits.
Shimmering, splendid.
That's what'll win you over. That's what'll win you over.
I'll do it.
We've got some super chats that are coming in. We've also got questions that are coming into the Discord, so we're going to start addressing some of those. I was pretty sure we just had a super chat. Where'd it go? Mike, didn't we have a super chat? Hippopotamus Gray. It says great. I know it means Greg. Greg never tells lies, and Eric is a very calm person. I'm pretty sure we had another super chat. If there was one, Mike, could you? Yeah, just DM it to me because I know there was one. It's not showing up in YouTube right now. Some other questions that we have coming into our Discord channel. This one is from Sam Cassell Dance. How much of a priority is it to get to Sims or Hartenstein tonight? And he's asking for DraftKings.
I mean, I'm not getting to him as much as I think I would on this kind of a slate. I just think there's better places to go. I'm not playing either.
I would say very low priority.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that if you had a lineup or two of these guys that it's, the worst thing in the world. But when you're asking us how high of a priority, not very high of a priority for me at all. Not at all. The next question we have is from Just Locks. He wants to know, who are our favorite small forwards and power forwards for a FanDuel GPP? So let's do it this way. Just favorite tournament play at small forward and at power forward for FanDuel. And it could be for whatever reason. It could be just the chalk player that you agree with the chalk on. It could be a contrarian option. However you want to answer this question, Eric. Favorite small forward and your favorite power forward for FanDuel GPPs.
Let's go TJ Warren right off the bat for the low-owned one. And then he's 4,500 on FanDuel. Yeah, he's 4,500 on FanDuel. Pulled up Crunchier for it. And then I will give you the chalkier one. Let's go Ben Simmons.
Yeah, it's funny, like, because Ben Simmons is a weird case in terms of whenever he comes up as a popular play, everybody's like, oh, I don't want to roster him, he sucks. But then he still kind of is popular, which means there are people somewhere that think he's going to be a good DFS option. But yeah, got a whole lot of ownership going to Ben Simmons right now. For me, in terms of popular play I like at small forward, I'm going to go with Paul George. I think that's a good piece of chalk in Paul George today. $8,200 on FanDuel. He's going to have a whole bunch of usage today. I think that makes sense. Great matchup for him as well against the San Antonio Spurs. So I think Paul George makes sense, especially because we have, just good matchup. And then we're also at a point too, the Clippers are going to condense their rotation going forward, right? Like we've seen them do it at times. We've seen Reggie Jackson get left out. I know John Wall is injured right now, but I think this is a team that's going to have to prioritize winning games sooner rather than later. No?
Yes and no, because they've had some pieces that have been out as well. Luke Kennard's been out for a long time. He's been out since the 6th. So 20 days since we've seen Luke Kennard, who can be a rotational piece. He led the NBA in 3-point percentage last season. So like, you don't think of him as being somebody who's that important, but like, I imagine he'll be coming back and be a part of the rotation for sure. I think Reggie Jackson also coming off the bench, he started to play a lot better. And this is a disturbing play for me today, but I'm definitely going to get some Reggie Jackson at 0.1% over on DK at 3,500. That feels good. But I think coming off the bench, there's opportunities for guys to come in and just go the hot hand approach. And I think that's the tough thing about talking about a team like the Clippers is that you have the obvious pieces in Kawhi and Paul George. Zubats, I always take shots on in GPPs, and this is a 13 total. Like, there's going to be a bench player or two if this ends up in a blowout that just go completely nuts and ham. And I think Reggie Jackson at 3,500 just makes sense. I understand we have him projected for 15 and a half minutes, but you have to think of range of outcomes. He's also 0.1%. So I'm probably of the mind that, yeah, they're going to prioritize winning games, but these are the kind of games that you would expect Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Zubats, Norman Powell. Those guys should be able to go out, get out and just murder this Spurs team on the LA back-to-back. And that could open up opportunity for other guys still.
Yeah. And we just got also some additional super chats came in. Mike dug up the other super chat too, nice. Which there it is. Appreciate you, Mike. My low owned forward I like getting to on FanDuel, Dorian Finney-Smith, his minutes are back on the upswing. If you remember DFS, 3-ish weeks ago, he was not playing all that much. And then we saw the Christian Wood injury, and you kind of wonder, like, how is this something that the Mavericks are going to respond to? It's just been more small ball lineups. And now you look at some of these recent games, the last couple for Dorian Finney-Smith, 31 minutes, 38 minutes. He's not a high usage guy or anything like that, but we know the defensive stat upside he has. That could be really handy on FanDuel. He's low owned, only 4,600. So that is going to be my contrarian tournament play for you at the small forward/power forward spot, Just Locks.
Love it. Those are 4 good options.
All right, let's
Do you like TJ Warren today, by the way, at all, at 1% on FanDuel?
I have more than in the lineups I ran. I got to him in 5% of them. So more
there
than
you
that,
go.
But
there you go. It was more of like I saw it and it was so wild to see 1% next to his name that I know I would have more than that.
Let's hit on some of these questions. So Mike left these super chats here for me. Thank you for rounding these up. And this is first from, oh, wow, there's actually a lot of these that have come in. Okay. This one is from our guy, Ace of Spade. $2 super chat. Kyrie, Ball, or Randall for DK tiers? Kyrie.
Kyrie.
I really like getting to Kyrie today. I know that's not exactly a contrarian take. People are playing Kyrie Irving, but he's taken on such a big usage role as of late. He's a great matchup against the Pistons. There is no Kevin Durant there today. So for DK tiers, that's going to be a pretty easy answer for me. But I'm wondering, relative to his ownership, what are you doing with Kyrie in classic large field tournaments?
I'm playing him. I like a lot of the Nets today, and it just kind of seems like a slate where you can throw him around here with the Detroit matchup. Everything looks pretty good there. Kyrie Irving, Nicholas Claxton, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry has started to be a part of this team in a pretty prominent way, eating up a lot of usage. I mean, 35, 31 minutes, 36 minutes. Those are 3 of his last 4. You take a lot of minutes and usage off the floor like that, and there's going to be guys who pop, and that's where the TJ Warren, Joe Harris, Royce O'Neal, none of those guys feel all that comfortable either. I feel pretty good about them, but in terms of pay-ups, I think Kyrie's my favorite guy to get to currently on this slate.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially because, there is, and, we're still waiting to hear officially on what's going to happen with Donovan Mitchell. It's always a weird scenario when somebody is out, and not only out, but ruled out for multiple games, and all of a sudden they're upgraded to questionable game time decisions. So that's going to have a lot of bearing on the slate, but it's kind of hard to know exactly what's going to end up happening there. I know that Rich, who's helping out the projections today, he sent me some notes on Donovan Mitchell and just the information that he had said to me that is still thinking that he's unlikely to play Donovan Mitchell. And that is what a report we got earlier, is that he was unlikely to play. But I still find it hard to totally buy into it, just because we're only a day removed from them telling us he's going to be out for multiple days, and now he's questionable on the injury report. So
are we lagging to the point where people didn't hear that I said Seth Curry's out and it's a lot of minutes and usage to replace? What the flying F?
Eric's spicy today.
No, I'm just mad. I'm just mad that nobody can understand what I'm saying, that they're like, how do you miss whatever when I did not miss anything? I didn't miss a damn thing.
Maybe if you said it in French instead.
Oh, et du français, if you.
I don't know very much French. In fact, I know no French. I don't think that was Steph Curry's out tonight, though. Could you? What were the?
We're lagging. I don't think people can hear us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Can't hear us at all. Restart stream, slate. Yep, it's bad. Stream is broken.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Are we on the air right now, by the way?
No, nobody can hear us. Nobody can hear what we're saying.
Can they see us? I'm just trying to figure out if I should take my clothes off or not. These numbers might as well be in French to me.
Yeah, none of this means anything to me. Okay.
I think Tyler hacked us. That's my working theory. we could do. I mean, I feel like what are we if we don't have images of you making shocked faces and whatnot? How do people even watch the show without a visual?
Yeah, if a tree falls in the forest, does it fall on Eric's face, or is he just going to talk through the pain? I think it probably does a lot of things too.
The bear, does a bear shit in the woods? Does Eric eat it? Isn't that the proverb?
Just like Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah. Just put it in the bowl.
What a fall from grace for that dude. He's like a situational short yardage guy now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Donovan Mitchell ruled out. That's important. Kevin Love ruled out
as well.
What?
Right. Well, at least now I've got something that we can update. And then whenever we come back.
They say they can all hear you. They said, just give us the sound. I'm not watching anyway.
Just give us the sound. You don't want to look at my sexy body.
I find it hard to believe that people that people don't need the visual elements. It's always funny. And once again, I have no clue whether they can hear us or not. It seems like they can. But for whatever reason, we are doing a sports DFS show, mostly to a male audience who really cares about our appearance. In general, like whatever we're wearing, whatever somebody.
I always dress up nice.
I do not. Well, I mean, it's all relative. I've got a Pokemon shirt on right now that I really enjoy. But
I have a Treasure Bond long sleeve. It looks nice. Makes me look like I'm going on safari.
Even the girls I date don't care about my appearance as much as the YouTube chat does.
I'm aware. It's been well versed. I need more Greg date stories. I think we all do. All right. Jordan said to get in his Zoom, so we're gonna jump in his Zoom. Do we leave? Mike, and then come back?
I'm just gonna cut the stream. Give me 1 second though.
Okay.
Cut.
I think we got to leave the Zoom either way. So, all right, we'll see you, Mike.
So we're doing a show right now, Jordan Klein. Promise? Okay, Jordan promises that we're on the air. Who knows if he's telling the truth or not? I've been lied to a lot of times over the course of this last 15 minutes. I love you guys. I love Jordan. Eric is here as well. If you guys didn't do it yet, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because this is just an absolute banger that we've got going on here right now. And
Woo!
I know there's a lot of super chats to answer. I want to get caught up on those as well as questions in the Discord. But the news that we just got is that Donovan Mitchell is officially out. And we were just talking before about, maybe we were talking about it. Amongst Eric and myself, we were talking about the Donovan Mitchell situation. What it ended up going out and not going out, I don't know. It's impossible to know. But Donovan Mitchell being out, how are we doing with this situation? How are we reacting?
Yeah, we're gonna play some Cleveland. I think everybody's gonna play some Cleveland. This one's for you. Pretty difficult to get away from rostering a boatload of those dudes here today. Now it just looks so much better. We were starved for value, and now you just got a ton of it. I mean, we're gonna play Darius Garland, we're gonna play Evan Mobley, we're gonna play Jared Allen. Those three are kind of gimmies. Karis LeVert jumps into the conversation. Isaac Okoro at 3,600. Never a fun clip, but never a fun click, but he's going to play a lot of minutes there. And then, I don't know, does this kind of open an opportunity for a 20-minute opportunity for Ricky Rubio at 3,300? I don't know. I don't know if I really want to be taking that shot, but like, it's at least in play now, whereas before I thought people were insane.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any good feelings that he could potentially play more minutes than we've seen as of late?
Not really. He played 19 against Milwaukee on the 21st. Then he went down to 13, but that has more to do with the fact that there's just so many guys ahead of him playing more minutes. Doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he maybe can't play 24 minutes right out of the gate. So for me, I would just think based on getting up to 19 minutes, what was that, 5 days ago, that you could see 22, 24 minutes if they needed them. And obviously here you're without Donovan Mitchell. Darius Garland's going to play a lot of point. He's going to handle a lot of the he'll handle that role just fine. But like Ricky Rubio, with the opportunity to possibly jump to 24 minutes, he's 3,300. And this has been a good fantasy producer for years and years and years and years and years. So I don't care about a 0.83 fantasy point per minute rate this season. I really throw it out the window. I think of him more as like a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy, just as a little bit of a bump for what he's been in the past, even before he got hurt last year. Had a couple of just insane games, absolute insane games towards the tail end of December. I think at 3,300, he's at least in the conversation now. We'll see what that ownership lands at.
Jordan, can you send me those super chats, Jordan? All right. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not trying to press you or anything. I'm just asking if it's possible. Jordan's really enjoying his off day. By the way, were people able to hear Jordan respond?
I've never heard "fu" from Jordan Klein in my life, but that's the closest to "fu" I've heard from Jordan saying it to somebody. He's normally so nice and proper.
By the way, to everybody here, it's Jordan's day off. He was not expecting to work, and all of a sudden he has to go in. And I just don't have a way to access the super chats right now, just because the stream went down and there was a bunch of YouTube.
Read the room, Greg. Read the room.
We've got 20 minutes to go until lock. I want to make sure everybody's paid questions are answered. So I asked Jordan for the super chats and he just told me to go fuck myself. So I'm trying to run the show.
He's trying to keep a straight face over there.
I literally said, just give me 2 minutes. All right.
Hey, Jordan, hurry up. Jordan, we need super chats. Jordan.
Did I ask an unreasonable question though?
But I read the room, Greg.
I got you asking me to do things, and other people. They'll give me 2 minutes. I kind of
like this. I want to ask Jordan to do more things.
We should do Sorare right now. We should talk Sorare right now, and we'll talk them after lock, and then we'll be able to just fire off super chats, fire off our highest owned players, and go.
Not really, because we got questions for games that lock in 20 minutes.
Just saying, do it while he's fixing his stuff. Talk about our brand new lovely sponsor that we love.
I'd rather harass him at this point. I mean, I'll tell people how they could sign up at Sorare.
That's a great idea.
So I'll tell you how you could sign up at Sorare. If Jordan has the graphics, doesn't have the graphics, okay, I don't want to put any pressure on him. I know he's very overworked right now. And I do feel bad that Jordan has to step in on his off day. But if you guys haven't checked out It's Sorare, first of all, it's really fun. I've been playing it over the course of the last 6 weeks or so now, just trying to learn the platform, as I knew that they were going to be a sponsor of ours. And you could play the game for free and have a lot of fun. It's contests. You collect DFS cards, you build lineups around them, and then you play and you win more cards when you play out those lineups. So I've been playing for free, having a lot of fun. But if you guys want to sign up for the first time and get the best value possible over at Sorare, when you sign up using our link, you're going to get 1 limited card for free after making 5 limited card purchases. And then you get access to really rare cards, potentially if you win tournaments like 1-of-1 Giannis's and things of that nature. So post-lock show, Eric and I are going to build out some Sorare lineups using my account and all the different things that I've built up. Jordan, how you doing on those super chats?
Yeah. Lineups. Yeah, tomorrow is the day for So Rare. So it's going to have a contest running for 3 days, the 27th to the 29th. We'll build out some fun lineups for that. I'm looking forward to it. I've got a couple teams in that already.
All right. Jordan told me to check my DMs. Let's see what we have here. Oh, look at this man coming through.
Oh.
This beautiful human being, Jordan, who just sent me a screenshot of all of the super chats that we have right here. This one is from... Oh, I can't really read it on the... Okay, here we go. All right. So so the one thing that's annoying is the timestamp is covering up some of these on... Okay, so Douglas Bowman... Without Mitchell, does it mean Kyrie and Luka should be top-owned studs for single-entry tournaments? Honestly, I thought Kyrie already was, and he still is. Like, to me, it was Kyrie before, it's Kyrie after as well.
Yeah. We'll see. I might get to a lot more Luka now. I thought people were a little crazy just jamming him. We have him for an optimal percentage around 20.9%, and yet his ownership was way, way north of that. He was up around like 25, 26%. I think I can get to more of him now. I think I'm going to get to enough pieces of Cleveland that are cheaper than other pieces around it, where I'm going to find myself getting to them. So I'm pretty interested to see what happens to my lineups, because it's like right now, Kyrie was just the guy. And I still want to get to him, no doubt about it. But like, I think I have the money for Luka now.
The next question is from Eddie Seja. By the way, the two most roster spend ups for me are going to be Kyrie and Garland. If we're considering Garland to spend up, he's
fantastic. He's the best play on the slate for cash game. Like, he's the first guy you click on now.
Eddie Seja, help me build my DK GPP lineup core, low owned guys in Blink 182 voice. Boy, this is a lot of demands.
Okay. What is he asking for?
In a Blink 182 voice,
okay,
he wants to know who the core low owned guys are.
Okay. The core low owned guys are gonna be something other. Do you know that song from Blink 182? It's Christmas Eve and I've only rapped two.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
so
hey, I think that's a good song to go with this. So low owned plays that I really, really like. And I'll never talk to you again. Then I'm gonna play Kyrie, then talk to you again. But he is really owned, never talk to you again. Guess I'll play a low-owned piece that I really like. Tim Hardaway Jr. I'll never talk to you again. I'll never talk to you again. Now you go.
I have to look at updated ownership. So here's the other thing too. With me trying to host the show and it kind of falling off, I'm trying to update my lineups right now as well. But let me see what the most recent ownership is. This is also hard to sing while I'm trying to figure out who I actually. There's so many elements here. I have to sing the answer. It has to be Blink 182 specific. I don't know what the ownership is in the most recent run.
All right.
Karis LeVert is only 17% owned.
But you have to do it in a Blink 182 voice. Like, all the Karis LeVert. You should not overt.
Vert or something. I don't even know what rhymes with LeVert, but play Karis LeVert. That's gonna be my answer. We're gonna go with Karis LeVert. Jordan cannot be
killing me today.
Jordan cannot be more. We ruined Jordan's day. Jordan's day has been totally ruined.
Just left the chat.
Play Karis LeVert. In fairness, we've already shown that we could do the. No, we actually can't do the show without a producer. We very much found that out before. We need Jordan. Please don't go anywhere. We need you.
All right, he's back. All right.
Avi Schreier, Cam Thomas. They needed two who could guard and score for Curry's minutes. Are you playing Cam Thomas at all?
Am I playing Cam Thomas? No, I'm not.
It's too much of a stretch on this slate. I don't think it's needed.
It's just such a. I mean, that is just asking for a lot. It's asking for a lot, man.
Shane Loughran. I'm not playing Cam Thomas either. Shane wants to know who is the best value play at power forward and center for single entry lineups. At power forward, so these are going to be correlated. At power forward, I think it's Mobley. At center, I think it's Jared Allen now. In the absence of Kevin Love, Jared Allen at $6,500 on DK, one of the top value plays on the slate, and is somebody who, I wasn't really considering all that much before, but Mobley and Allen from power forward and center, both because of Mitchell and Love being ruled out.
Isaiah Stewart. Yeah, Stewart.
All right. The next one is from Jorge. Thoughts on Powell and Kawhi today instead of Paul George?
Powell and Kawhi today. Powell and Kawhi instead of Paul George. They're not as good of plays. That's my thoughts.
It's hard for me to get to Powell when Kawhi and Paul George are both active.
Powell.
You could play Kawhi as a pivot off of Paul George. Norman Powell is too thin for me.
Very much so.
Enzo, just dropped my daily super chat for the boys. Shout out to Eric. That's your biggest fan right now.
It's okay. Just bring it. It's nice to have one fan in the sea of misery and hate. So I'll take my one fan.
You've been getting a lot of support on Twitter lately.
I have. I've been getting a lot of love for my absence, I'm sure. Also, do I need to go check? Is that something that I need? Because I found out you can search for things even if you're not on Twitter. You could still find me and do things even if you're not on the Twitter. It's not like I can't look at Twitter.
Yeah.
Hey, Jordan Klein, how about you chill out?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, fuck off, Jordan. I'm doing the best I can. Rob asked this. Real lock cash plays today. DK, keep up the good work. So who are the guys we would say you absolutely must play in cash games?
Yeah, there's a couple. You're playing Paul George, 8,500 in cash. You're playing Jared Allen, 6,500 in cash. You're playing Darius Garland, 8,600 in cash. I also think you just play Zach Collins as a blocker, 3,700 in cash. Done. Those are 4.
Did you say Kyrie?
I did not say Kyrie. He definitely is a cash piece too.
Yeah, Kyrie, Jared Allen, Garrison Matthews is a punt play. He's super popular, and assuming that he ends up starting for the Rockets, it to me just points per dollar. He's the best cheap play on the slate. He's really popular. He's probably gonna be like 40-50% owned in cash games, so that would be another one there.
How do you feel about him in tournaments? Do you just play a lot of him anyway?
Let me see.
Because it feels like a spot where we could just get Josh
right
Christophered.
I'm underweight to the field right now.
Okay, I that's what I was asking, because I feel as though I don't want to play Josh Christopher, but I'm just saying, like, there's enough iterations of this game where they just spread it out to a bunch of dudes. They have Dacian Nix, they have Ty Washington, they have a lot of these dudes that can just like fill in minutes. And Garrison Matthews has been the guy, but like he's such a bad fantasy producer that I don't feel like he's a must in anything but a cash game format.
Yeah, I would definitely play him in cash games. I have exposure to him in tournaments. I'm just underweight
20%. Yeah, I'm under the field though.
We got some more super chats that Jordan has very kindly sent to us. Jake Lewis, how did Bones Highland shit the bed so hard last night, Eric? I'm still confused by his minutes.
I'm confused by it. I mean, there were trends, but like there were a lot of guys out. It was weird. You texted me and said, is he going to DNP? I think he's going to DNP. Yeah, you know me, but he didn't. Thank God. He put up 20 and he was in the winning lineup on DK. So I don't really know what to tell you. That should tell you that he was still a good play.
He played 17 minutes. I thought he was going to play more. He didn't. Like Eric said, he was in the first place lineup on DraftKings yesterday. So it's not like he totally shit the bed that hard. He just was not nearly as good as we thought he was going to be. Jay wants us to help him with Showdown for the Spurs and Clippers. I have lineups built out. So the players for Showdown that I got the most to in the captain spot was Paul George as a cheaper and lower owned captain play, Keldon Johnson. Utility plays I got to a bunch for Showdown. Kawhi Leonard, Keita Bates-Diop for value. Ivica Zubac as a high variance kind of mid-range GPP type play. So those were the players when I ran lineups I ended up getting to the most there, Jay. And then Hippopotamus, I know I read this one off before, but I'm not sure if it was when we had cut out or not. So I'm going to reiterate. Hippopotamus, Greg never tells lies, and Eric is a very calm person.
Both of these are true.
As for other super chats, Avi Schreier, JaVale McGee a must play. No.
What? No, he's not. You shouldn't play him.
Yeah, no. Very far from a must play. James Magruder, $7,000 or under for utility in DK. It cannot be Jared Allen, though.
Okay, well, it would have been Jared Allen, so glad you covered the bases there. I would say Ben Simmons.
That is for me. Let's see, 7,000 or
I really like Ben Simmons today.
That is actually Mason Plumlee for me.
Ooh. Good contrarian play.
He's not. I mean, he's not popular.
12%. He's not popular. I said it's a good contrarian play.
Yeah, that's a guy I've projected the best there.
Cool.
Did I answer all these super chats now? By the way, thank you guys for your patience today and for sticking around with us. I know it's not ideal when the stream craps out, but we are doing the best here.
I love it because Jordan has to work more.
Yeah, that's true. This whole thing was just a setup to screw Jordan Klein.
You have a day off? I'll show you a day off, Jordan.
We've been orchestrating this for the last 12 hours, trying to figure out how we could inconvenience Jordan Klein and make him work more. It's been worth it. He cursed at me, which I'm still a little upset about. It really hurt my feelings, but it's all right. Corey Shea, Zach Collins, or Reggie Jackson at utility for DK. Zach Collins.
Zach Collins, yeah. So yesterday, what I didn't like, it was a 10-game slate, and he was pulling tons of ownership. He ended up really low owned yesterday. So again, ownership is such a big part of what we do. I will say on a 6-gamer, I am getting to him a little bit more than what I was expecting. 3,700. He's a good piece of value. If you're chalky other places, whatever. But he played 24 minutes. He's a good fantasy producer. Pretty much always has been. So 1.07 fantasy points per minute this season. Like if he shows up in lineups, just play him. That's fine.
Some more super chats. This one is from our guy, Big Boy A. Robert Williams, Zubats, or Duran?
Zubats, I can tell you already. For me, I have so much Zubats today. I really shouldn't play this slate.
That is Zubats for me. If it's points per dollar, the answer would be Duran. But since it's just those three guys, then I would rather just use the $600 and get up to Zubats. So I'm with you. Ivica Zubats. And then James McGruder, another follow-up, $3,900 or under for a DK single entry, but it cannot be Garrison Matthews.
Good. I don't want it to be Garrison Matthews for a single entry tournament. He'll be 40% owned for no reason. Well, for a reason, but like I just don't like it. Let's go 3,900 and under. I mean, Zach Collins is chalky, so there you are. I think he's a decent enough option. I like him more as chalk than I do a 3,900 Garrison Matthews. I think the upside is more pronounced for him, but I'll give this flyer. I think Isaac Okoro he's a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad fantasy producer, but he's 3,600. He played 31 minutes, 34 minutes on the 18th there with a couple of other pieces out. Like there's an opportunity for him to go out and play 30 plus minutes in this spot. And you give me anybody sub 4K that's going to play 30 plus minutes. I think there's a chance for it. He can run into stocks, but he's a very bad fantasy producer. But like if you're looking for the off the wall play of the day, Isaac Okoro is somebody who's in my lineups.
Yep, I have some exposure to him. My answer is going to be Zach Collins. I certainly think it's reasonable to make a case that he's too popular, but you know, if you have one or two contrarian pieces in your lineup, you don't need every single piece to be contrarian. And I do think Zach Collins rightfully projects for the best amongst all of those cheap guys. The next super chat we have here is from Coley Poston. Garland, Levert, Allen, pick 2. Garland and Allen.
Garland, Allen, not close. Go.
Jack Perry, your thoughts on the main event of WrestleMania XVII?
I know it's in LA. I know a lot of my wrestling fans. I'm not the biggest wrestling fan. Like I've serviced watched WWE, but I'm pretty sure isn't WrestleMania in LA this year, Jordan Klein? Somebody was talking about going, unless they were just lying to me, but I don't know. Maybe I was just being lied to like a Greg.
I have no concept of this. I don't know when it is. I don't know who's fighting. I'm fairly sure it's
2023. It is in Inglewood. Yeah, I was right. So there are. Right. I was not lying.
My thoughts are that it's in Inglewood. That's all I have to contribute to this.
There you go. It's obviously. I mean, I will say I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I think it would be pretty incredible to go to that.
Yeah, I have a strong disagreement with you on that. Next question is from John Bryant. I'd honestly rather just have my nuts stepped on in high heels. I'll find other ways. I'll find other ways to spend my.
You have to say things you don't like, Greg. Get it? Because that would be
I mean that's fair, but people seem to enjoy that. That's not for me. The wrestling. John Bryant, rate Jop on tonight's single slate for DK. I like Keita Bates Jop. He's cheap. He enables me to spend up for other guys. He is, as far as punt plays go, let's see.
I've been debating on whether or not this bit belongs on a Lindy's Leans Likes and Locks. I've been like, Kata Jap, but I don't think people would know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, it doesn't belong anywhere. It doesn't belong on this show. It doesn't. Good. You should be embarrassed to even thought it in your head.
At no point in your incoherent rambling did you make anything close to a rational thought. I award you no points and may God have mercy on your soul.
I think he's underowned. I would rather play Kata Bates Drop than Garrison Matthews for min price.
Correct.
I have more exposure to Bates Drop. So I like him a lot. Never sit on your nuts. Never sit on your nuts. Just Locks wants you to go to WrestleMania and stream it.
I mean, I would have to get invited. Aren't tickets really expensive for that? Assuming they are.
Yeah, no way to know. I would if somebody gave me $100, I wouldn't go. Timma 2937. How do you guys feel about Jericho Sims tonight? I'm not rostering him.
Same.
Thoughts on Chetty tonight? Chetty is, I think he's a viable.
Alec Burks starting for the Pistons. Alec Burks is starting for the Pistons. Get to Alec Burks right now. We have 3 minutes. Get some Alec Burks in your life. He's 4,400. I'm going to lock him.
I'm probably not going to lock him, but I'm going to get some exposure to him right now. Some other questions that we just got. Corey Shea, Claxton, Eaton, or Allen for a single entry DK. That is Jared Allen for me.
Jared Allen.
The next question here is from Ace of Spade. CP3 or Mobley for DK tiers. That is Mobley for me now that we have that the Donovan Mitchell news, that him being out and Kevin Love being out. It would have been Chris Paul for me earlier in the day, but now it is Mobley for me ahead of Chris Paul. How about for yourself, Eric?
I don't know, but by the way, Killian Hayes not starting out of that grouping, so I'm taking a massive. I'm just going to take him out of the pool. I had some Killian Hayes exposure.
Do you think he's going to be a DNP now?
I think there's a chance. I don't know. I feel like Detroit, there are a lot of range of outcomes for what things could happen for them going forward because they're going to move some pieces at the deadline. My boy Bojan will not be in a Detroit uniform come the end of the deadline. So I would expect some pieces, if they have anything that they can move. Duran isn't going anywhere. He's a good piece for them. They're going to start moving some things. So get ready for some Detroit weirdness. There's going to be a slate where we talk about Saban Lee. I would get to more Saban Lee if I wasn't on a show right now. I would probably find a plan to get to a little bit of him. I would probably want him absent anything with Killian Hayes in it in the event that you still have Killian Hayes in your pool, which I do not. Alec Burks, but 4,400 for Alec Burks. It's just simply nobody is going to get to him as much as they should. We haven't had a late last 5-minute piece of news like this in a very, very long time. You should be not jamming, but I have 92% of him now.
Saban Lee isn't on the Pistons, by the way.
Not Saban Lee. Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Corey Joseph is out. I know that's who I must have been thinking of. I don't think Killian Hayes is a DMP, but I'm looking at get rid of Killian Hayes, get to Alec Burks. Just play a ton of Alec Burks. That's what you need to know. Saban Lee's on Phoenix. There you go. Cool.
Yeah, so I think pretty clearly the best option right now from the Pistons is Alec Burks. I'm also trying to update my lineups and just take Killian Hayes out. I want 0% Killian Hayes now.
I have 0 of him. That's the important thing.
I
don't give a shit. Who cares? I said Saban. I don't give a shit. I want to get to Alec Burks. I'm here to give you the news. Get to Alec Burks. Go. And yeah, I got beeped out by my own mic. What's up?
By the way, I was just saying that because I don't want people to play Saban Lee.
Yeah, don't do that. He plays for Phoenix. He's later.
Yeah.
I just saw that he was on the slate and he was in my pool there. So I was like, oh, okay.
So this will be interesting. I uploaded my lineups. Almost all of them got updated, but a couple of them didn't just because it was as I was clicking upload. They just didn't go through in time.
Yeah, I got to a little Diallo there in the last minute. You didn't get your lineups in?
No, I mostly got my lineups in. There was just a few that got cut off by it was uploading in
at
time.
The 59-second mark. That's the wildest, isn't it? When it comes back with the thing that says 55 of your 150 have been updated. And it's oh shit.
Yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world. I'm actually, let me see what I ended up getting to here now. Yeah, so actually my most rostered player ended up being Alec Burks. Just based on the late news and me trying to Because I was obviously, it's not like we had time to really look at this scientifically or anything. It was just, all right, upload lineups, what ends up happening here. And I just went like, all right, thumbs up Alec Burks and Fantasy Cruncher, take Killian Hayes out, rerun lineups and see what happens. And yeah, it ended up giving me a bunch of Alec Burks.
Yeah, if you were playing cash games, I would have said just dude, I want you to guess his ownership in the $15.
2%?
8%.
Higher than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, 8.13% for a guy that wasn't in play for me. 4,400 starting. That was too good of a spot not to jam.
Yeah, I mean, so what I'm doing right now is looking at my lineups because I don't even know who I ended up playing just based on that last because you're just trying to change stuff and then it's like, all right, what are my rooting interests? I'm rooting for Alec Burks now. This is a good time. Let's try to figure out who our most roster players are because I'm learning it as you guys are.
Alec Burks, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Burks, Mobley, Paul George. By the way, I have a lot of lineups now that we're able to get to Paul George, Garland, and Irving in them.
Yeah. I got some more Luka. Luka was a big beneficiary of that news. Oh my God. Josh Christopher, I call it from the rooftops. He's starting. My God. Get to Josh Christopher. This is just wild.
Yeah, so the starting lineup that we just got for the Rockets, and we just got the Cavs starting lineup as well. The Cavs, Garland, LeVert, Okoro, Mobley, Allen. Nothing really surprising there. Shouldn't be changing anything for us. The Rockets, however, Jalen Green, Josh Christopher, Martin, and then we've got Jabari Smith Jr. and Şengün. What does this do to Garrison Matthews, and what does it mean for Josh Christopher?
You should not play Garrison Matthews. You should play Josh Christopher. I know he's only a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy, but he is starting. This is his first start of the season. But like, did you watch the tail end of last season was like Josh Christopher every single damn slate. He was always like 3,300, 3,900. His price got up to like the late fours, but like you were still playing him because he was playing 30 minutes a night. Now, in one of these spots, the Rockets aren't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Try to make anybody appealing, but like Josh Christopher can actually go out and get a bucket from time to time. He reminds me of a Terrence Ross type where you're going to be very shooting dependent, like very, very shooting dependent to get there. Really adds you nothing in terms of counting stats, but like he's 3K. He's a flat 3K. I feel like you should get to know Garrison Matthews at this point because I think it was just assumed you're basically just flipping the two. And one is still going to carry ownership in Garrison Matthews. One is going to have less ownership than they would have had if you knew this news ahead of time.
Yeah, and I mean, if I had to choose between the two of them, it's going to be Josh Christopher. Ultimately, though, the biggest thing here is like I just don't really want anything to do with Garrison Matthews. He's going to be way overowned.
Yeah, I have zero. I will have zero and be fine with it.
To me, the higher priority from this news is to not play Garrison Matthews than it is to play Josh Christopher. If I had to choose one of the two, it's Christopher over Matthews. But ultimately, I'm just not going to be playing a ton of either of them.
I got to say, one thing that is interesting about this, like, what do we think this rotation looks like? Because Eason is still over a fantasy point per minute guy at 4,400, and I feel like there's opportunity. Have him and Jabari Smith shared the floor like at all this year? Because I feel like Terry Eason is the guy that we're going to be like. Tari Eason is going to be the guy that we all end up sleeping on, and we're all like, oh, duh. The guy who's actually a good fantasy point per minute player comes off the bench at sub 10% ownership and just slams the slate.
At the same time, too, what is the most amount of minutes he's played in any game this year off the bench? Like,
Not very many.
They just don't play him very much in that role.
He's so good. I really like this piece. LSU, he was awesome. He is awesome here in the he is really fun to watch. He's more of a defensive specialist. Like you look at his dunks and threes and that's what it is. But like he had just shot the ball terrible all year. And that's the reason that Jabari Smith, the draft equity, he's very good and will be a nice piece in the NBA, I think too, once he just establishes his ability to shoot a basketball too. But like, I don't know. I feel like Eason and Jabari Smith sharing the floor, not something I was really planning on thinking about getting to Eason that much. I had like 2% before. I think I want to get to more in the event that Garrison Matthews just doesn't play a lot off the bench.
Let me look at Tari Eason this year. So Tari Eason, the most minutes he's played off the bench in any game this year is 24 minutes.
But how many times have you had primary pieces sitting like Kevin Porter Jr., Eric Gordon, Jayshawn Tate? Like Tate being the least significant, much more Kevin Porter Jr., Eric Gordon. Like it just opens up for a different looking rotation than we've had pretty much in any of these previous iterations where we were like Jabari Smith is back, but then you're removing Eric Gordon. I'm just thinking they've only shared the floor 92 minutes this season together, but I don't know. It just feels like a spot that we're just sleeping on now.
You know why? Because Eason basically only plays power forward minutes.
Yep.
And that's it. I'm looking at him right now. 93% of his minutes are at power forward.
Okay.
So like, he's only playing at that spot. He's not playing small forward minutes. He's not playing center minutes. So it just, every once in a while we see Jabari Smith play center, but not all that often. I don't think this should impact Eason's minutes that much.
Okay, good. I just thought it was an important thing we should talk through.
No, I think that's totally fair. Let me make sure. Oh, here we go. Oh, we're at 14. McDermott or Christopher for DraftKings. Christopher.
Who and who and who and who? McDermott or Christopher?
Christopher.
Christopher for sure for now, or for me. McDermott probably ends up really low owned. And they're both kind of just hot hand approach, cheap punt guys. But I would rather just play Kenny Bates chop over all three, I think.
Michael Perlman got Burks in my one lineup tonight. Thanks. I hope he smashes and I hope he helps you because he's my most rostered player. I certainly hope that he ends up going off.
Yeah, 92% of him. I mean, it's just one of those things where he's starting. You just needed to jam it, and I'm glad we did.
All right, we are caught up on the super chats. By the way, Sam Cassell dance apologies because he had thrown a question into Discord about 90 seconds before the slate locked. Burks or Grimes? I would have answered Burks. Pretty much anything would be. At this point, it would have been Burks over like anybody for me. How about for you? Would it have been Burks or Grimes?
Yeah, it would have definitely been Burks. Burks over everybody.
Burks over.
Dude, Ben Simmons only ended up 13.8% in the $15.
What did I have for? I didn't play very much Ben Simmons either. I thought I was going to. And then once again, I think he was a casualty. He was a casualty of two things for me. Donovan Mitchell being ruled out and in the Alec Burks situation. Because once Donovan Mitchell was ruled out, I was getting more Donovan Mitchell and Kevin Love. I was getting more Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. That took up roster spots. And then also just getting more Alec Burks. So that kind of pinched him a little bit for me.
I'm just happy that we have not had that late breaking piece of news for a very long time where we had like 3 minutes to react. I feel like you and I had a lot of shows last year where that was the case. I can't remember one in the last 2 months that we've had where it was that late.
No, the last one we had this late was actually the only time Adam has ever done live before lock.
Really?
Yeah, we had the Spurs news where Keldon Johnson was a super chalk play. And then the starting lineup came out, I don't know, a minute and a half before lock without Keldon Johnson. We scrambled to change. It was when you were on vacation. That's the only time we've had one really at all recently.
That feels nice. I avoided that one too, and Adam got to suffer. What a double win.
And then Adam came in like third in the $15 on DK.
Never mind. He did not suffer, and I'm upset.
Yeah. And who knows? If he wasn't talking to me on the show, would it have happened? Was that the difference maker? Who's
definitely
to
not
say? By the way, Jordan, do you have access to my Sorare account? I don't know if you have it or not. Jordan? Okay, to get you access. Here we go. All right, here it is. All right.
I better atone for my sins. Burks was phenomenal. Burks has no green check mark on DraftKings. Yeah, because it came out forever ago. Stop with this stuff. Stop with it.
All right. Can you access it now, Jordan? I think I gave you access through my email right now. Because if you did, then we could start building some Sorare lineups up. And once again, if you guys have not signed up at Sorare, use our link to sign up. Because when you do, you're going to get a limited card for free after you make 5 limited card purchases. And that is a way to really quickly be able to play in some of the restricted contests over there. All right, let's see if I could get Jordan access. And by the way, Jordan, this is everything right here, right? Don't be spreading my password around. I have gifted you a lot of very confidential information. Wow. Oh my God.
I'm a douche 69.
Yeah. I just confirmed again. Did it work this time? My password is Eric Lover, by the way. Did it work?
It's great.
I did it with Mike before and it worked fine.
You should keep trolling him with the things that worked with Mike on this stream today.
But I'm not trolling. I'm trying to figure it out as we go. Okay, we're in. All right, so let's build my guys. Let's build my Sorare lineups for the next slate. Pull this up on the screen. I'm gonna put it in here, of course, because I have horrific eyesight. I can't see anything that's here. Go to the common champion one, because this is where we have a chance to win limited cards. And I've never spent any money on Sorare, but still I have a chance to win some unique cards here. We also have projections for Sorare that are up over on Stokastic.com. So I'm going to pull some of those up. So here's how it works. The players' prices, there's a salary cap on here. The prices are relative to whatever their average fantasy score was in the last 10 games. So you're seeing that LeBron, Jokic, their scores. So you're kind of trying to figure out which players have the most upside relative to who we could buy low on. And by the way, this is for Friday through Sunday's games. And you don't get multiple games from a player. So if somebody plays 2 games over the course of a slate, you get the highest score of those 2 games. And we just got a super chat, by the way, as well from Steve Schuster. We'll answer that in a second. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to scroll through my players. We're going to try to figure out which players offer the best value. And I'm also going to reference some of the projections that we have over at Stokastic. But first, some super chats we want to answer as well. First from Steve Schuster. DK forward $4,200 or less.
Well, we've had a lot of things that just locked. I would have said Alex Caruso. We have.
So so it's going to have to be from
Zach Collins is center. I mean, God, there's nobody.
So forward. So it could be a power
Dorian
forward.
Finney-Smith, done.
Yep, it's Dorian Finney-Smith for me as well. Okoro would be my second answer.
Yep. I think it would be too, but I didn't scroll down that far yet.
Michael Perlman, Zubats, or Allen on DK. That is Jared Allen.
Jared Allen.
And we caught up on all of those. Let's get back to figuring out who we want to play in this Sorare lineup. And another thing too about Sorare is they kind of run some fun gimmick type contests as well. Like they had one for last slate where you could only play guys from the Western Conference, I believe. Sometimes they do ones you can only play players from the Eastern Conference. Sometimes only defensive stats count. Sometimes there's other stuff where it's like you can only roster players who are 24 and under. So different kind of fun ways to go about building lineups. But Jordan, just scroll through some of my cards so Eric gets a good sense of who we're working with here.
Oh, I'm in a couple contests for tomorrow. I'm excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll get my collection. My guys.
Yeah, you got more. So the thing about it, so we're playing the 121. So you actually have access to be able to get to LeBron if you wanted to. Nikola Jokic is probably your first click. Also, we want to see who plays when there. How many games does he have? 1 game. They each have 1 game at the top. 1 game for LeBron, 1 game for Jokic. Because anybody with 2 games is the guy you want.
I don't really care. I mean, to an extent, if it's a tiebreaker, but like, I'm not going to play Julius Randle over Jokic, even if Randle plays multiple games. All right, is either of them a back-to-back? Because I think he's live to rest in one of those as well.
Do I think who's going to rest in one of them? Giannis?
Yeah,
he's probable for tomorrow's game. I already did the breakdown on that.
But does he play on Saturday as well?
No, I doubt he plays both legs of the back-to-back.
But does the team play Saturday? All right, so no, their two games are Friday and Sunday, so he would be good for both of those. But my preference here still, I want to play Jokic in my MVP spot. Eric, who would you go with here in MVP?
Yeah, I said Joker. That's
Okay.
definitely the guy I want.
And then let's try to find some value pieces. Go to the bottom, Jordan, all the way down. I want to see like who's the cheapest guy that we could reliably throw in here. Just scroll all the way down to where guys are like less than 10.
You have so many cards. This is fantastic.
Is that Santi Aldama right there? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think Aldama is a pretty good value option. How many minutes did we get out of Santi Aldama yesterday? Do you remember?
It doesn't matter. For me, the key thing is always seeing 2 games. If they have a back-to-back, they've been very, very adamant about sitting John Morant in some of those spots, like making stuff up to have him sit. We've had a lot of Tyus Jones slates of late. And then you see Steven Adams out for the foreseeable future. Brandon Clark, Xavier Tillman. It'll be a hot hand approach, getting guys out and playing off of that, just going to some smaller ball lineups. Jaren Jackson Jr. always has foul trouble. He fouled out of that game, so Santi Aldama got a little bit extra run. But at 16, that's a really good number to be getting on him. So pretty easy click, I think. That's a good one.
Yeah, Aldama, and played over 20 minutes last game. And then once again, you're thinking kind of in terms of these players are priced based on their average of the last 10 games. Aldama's just in a better scenario now. Like the value for this in terms of points per dollar, it's not going to be that much different than DFS in terms of, hey, Steven Adams is out for the Grizzlies. Who benefits? Some of the big men for this team. So Santi Aldama. By the way, people are freaking out because we are 3 minutes into the game. Do you know what Alec Burks has done so far?
Yeah, 0 things. Jaden Ivey has 12 points. Just throwing it out there. I bet Jaden Ivey, so that's okay by me.
Yeah, 9 points. 9 points and a steal for Jaden Ivey to this point.
Instead of everybody, what? Shut up! Instead of going to Ivy, everyone went to Burks. Why wouldn't we go to Burks? And again, I got some Jaden Ivey. It's not that I don't have Jaden Ivey. I just don't have nearly as much as the guy who wasn't assumed starting and then becomes the starter and is a smash. Plus, this game stays closer. That's fantastic for Alec Burks. Like, let's slow our roll here a little bit.
See what happens. I mean, for me personally, I think when you're 3 minutes into any slate, that's when the entire thing is determined. But that's just for me. I know other people feel differently. I think Alec Burks is going to finish with 0 fantasy points. And I think that we are going to see Jaden Ivey score 95 fantasy points.
Well, he's got a lot of them right now. So does Kyrie, right? No, 5-1. Jaden Ivey just blitzkrieg, pop.
Keep scroll. Let's look back over at some of the so rare stuff as I'm also trying to read it on the screen. And also, should we be considering, because I know in my cards, Eric, I have a Darius Garland, I have a Karis LeVert, I have Howell Neto. Neto kind of out of consideration now that Rubio's back. But should we consider the realistic possibility that Mitchell misses multiple games? I know that this is still well in advance where we could end up seeing his status improve, but should I be considering playing Darius Garland for the Friday through Sunday slate?
Yeah, he's already a good card to be playing regardless. Because I mean, it's Darius Garland at I think a number that is pretty decent. Like, again, you're spending up to the 120, and I think, you know, if you don't have a Donovan Mitchell, the situation just becomes such a ceiling player. It's like getting the same situation we have in DFS today, where if you were to put Darius Garland in without Kevin Love and without Donovan Mitchell, obviously, Darius Garland's nearly a 10K player, and we're getting him for 8,600. He's projected for north of 44 fantasy points here. So that click is a pretty easy one to make.
All right. Darius Garland, throw him in, Jordan. So what do we have left? I'm 32. Yeah, 32 for 2 spots. An average of 32 salary for 2 spots. We've got a super chat here from
Alec Burks bucket. Get off my D, friends. Let's go.
Is he going to score more than 0 fantasy points? It appears so. He's on the board. Super chat from Michael Perlin. Would it be crazy to switch Hardaway and Cam Johnson for Mobley and Okoro? No, I would advise you do that right now.
You should do that.
Hardaway and
All
Cam
week,
Johnson.
Eric's been calling players smash and they fail. That is not true.
Burks up to 2. Burks
know.
up to 2.
It's a smash, baby. That's he's on pace now. Good 5 minutes of work, Alec.
Let's get back to building this lineup out. So 32. Go into like the around the $20 price range, Jordan. I want to see what players I have to roster from around that salary I think would make sense. Oh, by the way, plug in TJ McConnell right now.
Yep, McConnell, done. Or Nemhard. I have a Nemhard card. He's in my lineup for this week.
So now we've got 30. I don't have Nemhard, I'm pretty sure.
I do. He's like 22. What was he at? Let me find him here. My teams. I have 2 teams going right now. Nemhard is 22. Yeah, I got it right the first time.
The 30. So now I've got 36 here to work with. Might have to pull out Darius Garland and mix around some salary mixes because I don't really like the guys that we have in this. I'm pretty sure I have Mathurin.
Jordan Klein really liked Tyler Hero and Paulo Banchero, it looked like.
What's the I'd rather play Mathurin points per dollar. I'd rather play Mathurin than Garland. What's the salary on Mathurin? Oh yeah. Put a Mathurin in for 22. And now we've got 54 and then Giannis to close it out.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I like that. Jokic, Aldama, Mathurin, McConnell, Giannis. Feel good about this, Eric?
I do. Looks lovely to me.
All right. Click the submit.
Click and articulate seat bass and trunk wrap.
What are the other let's build Eastern Conference one. So this is when we can only play players who are in the Eastern Conference. And also just going to do a quick check to see if we got any questions in Discord while we were doing this. And let's see what came through in Discord. Here we got a question from Eric Traub. He already has Bates Jop in his last spot. And then he wants to know Christopher or Roby. I'd prefer Josh Christopher to Isaiah Roby.
Same. I have a lot of Josh Christopher. I just want to be transparent about that. I have a lot.
Hardaway or Cam Johnson for a last man in on DK?
I'm coming around to the Cam Johnson. Yeah.
I was kind of so I can't say I'm annoyed because he ended up destroying. I loved Cam Johnson the other day. Do you remember what he did the other night, Eric?
Yeah, no, he was insane from 3 right out of the gate. 6 for 7 from 3. There it is.
He played 18 minutes because of the blowout and scored 35 fantasy points. He was going to demolish that slate.
Yeah, he still was great, and you needed him on the late slate, and that did not make me happy at 50% ownership.
And he only played 18 minutes because of the blowout.
It was just pain personified.
Do we play? Oh, there is an MVP for this. So throw in Julius Randle. Might as well because we need an MVP. Doesn't matter what his salary is. And then scroll down because I want to see who do we have left that's Eastern Conference only at this point. As for questions in our Discord chat, we got another follow-up. This one is from Heflove, Cam Johnson, Jabari Smith, or KJ Martin. I like Cam Johnson, most of those guys.
I do too, which is just weird to say.
And then Eric Traub ended up on a lot of Spurs and Cavs for my single entry, as well as Burks. Do not have any Houston. Is that a bad idea? I don't think it's the end of the world if you don't have a bunch of Houston exposure.
I don't either.
What else is going on in the Pistons game?
I'm still gonna get to my dude Josh Christopher, no matter what.
9 points for Kyrie in the first 5 minutes of the game. That seems decent.
He's up to 10 now. He made a flagrant. He got somebody just clobbered him. Who clobbered him? Bojan, flagrant 1.
I was
What's he doing?
Based on how we're running to start the slate, I was gonna guess it was like Alec Burks, a flagrant 2, and he got ejected.
Oh man, dude, Jaden Ivey is just destroying. This is lovely.
Jaden Ivey's off to a hot start.
TJ Warren checks in. We'll see on the board. Alec Burke's still out there running wins.
Terry Rozier, 9 points and 2 rebounds for Terry Rozier. And on the Bulls side of the game, 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists for Nikola Vucevic. In the Celtics, the Knicks are doing nothing. 15-5 is the score in the Celtics-Knicks game.
Seems bad.
It's not great. Jason Tatum has 10 points. 10 points and a rebound in 4 minutes for Jason Tatum.
Hey, where did all my Luka go? Luka, where you go?
He didn't start yet.
No, I was just copy pasting, making sure my single entry stuff looked good. And I was just like, I'm pretty sure he was in that. And then he disappeared. Now I found him again.
Let's see. Were there other questions?
I only got to 28% Luka. That seems wrong. That seems incorrect. I guess I just used a lot of spots on Burks, so that might make sense.
And I don't see, I know Madub T asked me to go look at Discord, but I think I've answered all the Discord questions.
Yeah, we done a good job. This show just flew. Didn't it just fly? I mean, there was nothing that happened that was crazy or weird or anything. And I mean, at least, I don't know.
The reason it flew is because we were only actually doing the show for like 27 minutes.
That's true. Between the late finish to the previous show and then that was good stuff. It was really good stuff. But I'm very excited to be playing over at Sorare. This is some fun stuff. I think you guys need to be checking this out because I'm going to be frequenting the Sorare streets.
By the way, very funny. Mike said, and I'm going to add a little to this. Mike's short. It felt like the show was lagging.
I see what you did there. That was an Eric joke. That was an EMAC joke, really.
Let's see. So we've got
Alec Burks rebound.
All right, Alec Burks. Oh, here we go. Madub T just left us a question. Bates chop or Chetty
Burks
for
steal.
last minute on DK? Bates chop.
Bates chop.
Yeah, I prefer Keta Bates
Keta chop.
There you go. You're working on it for later.
I have no opportunity. They're on a back-to-back now. I missed my chance, Greg. I missed my chance. It's all right. I'm still going to get a bajillion views. It doesn't matter.
All right, let's bang out the rest of this lineup. So we got Julius Randle. Scroll down, Jordan. I want to see what value plays are left from Eastern Conference only. Oh, I have Jared Allen. What's the cost on Jared Allen?
I don't know, but Kyrie is just on fire. 13, 2, and 1.
Especially Kevin Love is going to miss multiple games going forward.
Yeah, that seems fun.
So we'll play Jared Allen. I have other Cavs guys as well. I think I have an Isaac Okoro. Maybe not. Yeah, look around the $20 price. Yeah. All right. No, I don't. Thought I did. Go to the $20 price range. Oh, Karis LeVert. Let's play Karis LeVert because if we're going to get Donovan Mitchell out for another game or so, he would make sense. Oh, just for shits and giggles, throw Alec Burks in there. I think we're pot committed.
Alec Burks has played 9 minutes, by the way. I just want to throw this out there. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit whether or not he does well in this specific game. The timing of the news and the things you're supposed to do in DFS when that kind of stuff arises is you're supposed to just jam like you just are. So I don't know what to tell you. 2 points,
a rebound, an assist, and a steal now for Alec Burks.
There you go. He literally just played Isaiah Livers, Hamidou Diallo. There's going to be no Killian Hayes playing basketball tonight.
The chat's bringing it up. It seems like you're sweating Alec Burks a little bit.
Slightly.
You feel a little on tilt to me. But also, I wanted to check. Has Killian Hayes checked in, or is he just not playing today?
I just said that you never listen to me. You never listen to me. You don't care about me. Literally, what did I just say, Greg? Okay, one more guy. What do we got? 39. Scroll up a little bit for me, baby. Darius Garland.
Yeah, we don't have the space for him. Just select Tyler Hero for now.
Hero.
All right, I understand.
Did you ever know
I understand.
this Tyler Hero?
He wants. I understand. Jordan's made it clear he does not want to be hanging out with us tonight, guys.
Got it.
Thank you very much for sticking around. Sorry for the technical issues. We did the best we could. We love and appreciate Jordan Klein, who on his off day came in, jumped in on late notice to save the show, because if it wasn't for Jordan, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So Jordan, we appreciate you. And guys, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do it for Jordan, less so for Eric, who's not on Twitter. That is going to do it for us today, guys. I'm going to be right back here tomorrow night.